MAME Games.
Good evening, it's the 21st of April 2021 and this is the fourth part in my Alternatives to All Killer No Filler MAME Games. Now this is where I look at games that are not on the All Killer No Filler MAME lists, which are generally considered to be, top game MAME lists, games people have recommended, but it's also, for various reasons, not a complete list of the absolute best games in MAME. Some things are excluded because there are already too many things in that genre, some things are excluded on personal choice, some things are excluded because they don't have standard controls that would work in a simple arcade cabinet. And these streams aim to look at a variety of those. They're just a selection of games I've pre-selected, and I will also take on board any comments that are made during the stream and suggestions, and I'll look and see if they're on the list, and if they fit the stream, I'll include them, as has been the case for the past three streams, where plenty of things have been suggested and looked at, and plenty of people in the chat have come up with little facts of their own to throw about regarding the games I'm showing. Right, I'm starting with Super X, so I'm going to turn the volume back up now a little bit. So here we go. Now you have some sound. Now the music in this seems to be completely ripped off from something, I'm not sure what, but it sounds very metal. Right, so here we go. This is a game by Korean company Dooyong, and it was licensed to Mitchell, a Japanese company, which is unusual. And good evening, Bob. Yes, I read it was National Tea Day earlier. I don't actually have any tea. I'm kind of glad that I wasn't streaming yesterday because it was my friend's birthday yesterday, and we'd like to remind her that she shares a birthday with a very terrible person. But yes, I'm just going to coin up Super X and give it a try. I hope you're doing well anyway, Bob. Okay, it's always good to see you in the streams, and you're here nice and early this time. So, Korean shooters. Most of them are kind of awful. I mean, let's be fair. But there are a few ones that are okay, and Dooyong made a fair few shooters, so, they kind of knew what they were doing by the end. They're not A-tier shooters, but some of them are quite good. And this one, unlike many of the others, is actually driven by a 68,000, so technologically a little more advanced than quite a few of the other ones they put out. Obviously we've got Raiden Raiden style mechanics for picking up power-ups and increasing the power of each one, and put the same colour up to get more power. Also, I think this could do with auto-fire. Yeah, it's not the most original. It's clearly borrowing heavily from lots of other places. And also, the aspect ratio on the graphics is really strange on this one. So everything's a bit squashed, but we know it's for a 4:3 screen. But it looks better if you actually stretch it a bit. And that really shouldn't be the case, but sometimes the artists and the programmers were not on the same page. I do wonder if that was the case with some of the graphics here. Just look how non-round all these explosions are, and the bullets. They are very much squashed. Now, some things are perfectly round, like that ship there. The circles on that. So it's a little all over the place in terms of art design. It doesn't play too badly. I can kind of see why Mitchell would have picked this one up to license over many of the other Korean shooters, including Dooyong's ones. Because, it actually plays like you'd expect a shooter to play. Hence why I decided I'd start the stream in it. We're going back to normal power now, are we? So it even tells you when it's going to go back to normal power instead of the whole super power up thing. We've got new ones at the right colour. That one will do. I don't know if I'm maximum power now or not. But I've got a big wide spread shot here. One of the interesting things about a lot of the Dooyong games, and this one included, is that the tile map layouts are hard-coded in ROM, so the CPU is never actually writing the tile map layouts, it's just writing, a scroll position, which really means the CPU has less work to do. But it also means you can't do quite as many dynamic effects on the backgrounds as maybe you'd want to. But for a shooter, a lot of shooters at least, the backgrounds are fairly static, so I guess it sort of works. There we go, very square-looking boss. Hello, is Gemini Wing on the list? I may well look at Gemini Wing, Carlo, because it isn't on the actual all-killer list, so it can be on my list. I did see Zypho was playing Gemini Wing for the CPU. Oh, you can hold down fire. That actually makes it easy. I've been tapping fire this whole time and I can just hold it down. Zypho played Gemini Wing for the CPC after one of my streams, the last one, a few days ago. So I did check, and it's not on the actual killer, so I could play it on one of these streams. The CPC port is kind of bad, I have to say. That was not the best port of a classic arcade game to the Amstrad CPC, although so many arcade ports back then were just bad. Oh, you can't hold down fire when it's not supercharged. Okay. I'm not putting Star Wars Arcade on the list, Cow, because it's still got that annoying crash bug, and the radar still doesn't work, and basically there are quite a lot of emulation issues with it still, and it doesn't seem like one I want to really hype up that much. I personally feel it should still be marked as not working if it hasn't been demoted again. It definitely needs more work. Hey, and also, hey, hello Carlo and hello Cow, I hope you're doing well, and hey Aaron too. Yes, you are. You're nice and early again. I'm good, thank you. I had a little bit of a break from doing these yesterday, and obviously back on it today. So yeah, I'm just starting with this Korean shooter, which I quite like. So it's one that Mitchell actually licensed from Dooyong. An unusual case of that happening, because usually Korean shooters are looked down on in Japan, and so Japanese companies don't really want to touch them or license them. At least not the bigger ones. I have superpowers again. Are you talking about Gemini Wing, Carlo? Or are you talking about some other game? Now, the soundtrack on this one, to me, feels like it's very heavily borrowing from other games and popular music. I'm actually quite surprised this Mitchell version didn't have a different sound on a different soundtrack, because it feels a bit too obvious in places. Even if I can't name the exact tunes, they're so familiar. Wyvern Wings was similar, although the emulation of sound on Wyvern Wings is not great at the moment. But that seems to have like various metal MIDI files of popular tunes that are kind of obvious. Although that said, even things like Dodonpachi 2 Beastorm for PGM, it looks like IGS used MIDI files that can actually be found online for the music and just adapted them a bit. A little bit cheeky. A little bit cheeky. Oh dear. Well, my players get... Me plus shoot 'em ups equals not very good. Now, I don't know if the priorities are correct here, or if the bomb is meant to show over things, but I believe the bomb is just another time up on these as well. Yes, Gemini. Yeah, that gun is very much overpowered. I would say this does give that sense you have a lot of power. The enemies go down without too many shots. You get those massive power-ups. Say for a Korean game, a Korean shooter, this actually gets a lot right. I think it's got mistakes like keeping the score on continue, although I do need to check that. And you know, no game should ever really keep the score on continue, because it means that the high score table is just full of people who didn't really do that well. Some Japanese games will put a digit after in the last digit, and increase the number of the last digit to show if you continued or not, so you can kind of see if somebody continued, but still it doesn't stop the whole score table being filled up by such scores. But got a little bit of bullet wobble on the stage, unfortunately. If you notice when I move left and right, the bullet trajectory changes. That's another slight flaw you find in a lot of games, especially the Korean shooters. Not ideal, but it's not the worst case of it I've seen. But it's just a shame, because it means you're trying to dodge things, and where the bullets are going changes based on your own movement, which actually can be make you feel quite sick if you're trying to follow it. You're focusing on one thing, and then bullets are wobbling as you move left and right. But there are worse offenders for doing that, and even some bigger games do it. Yeah, I'll have a look at Gemini Wing in a bit then, Carlo. I'm not going to promise to be any better at it than I am at this, because, well, it's a shooter. I've not played it in ages properly, and I'm not even warmed up yet. But I'm going to play this for another couple of minutes, then we'll switch over. I probably will play Gemini Wing next, actually. Because why not? It was on my mind to play tonight. Yeah, Autofire would definitely help on this one. But it's a bit late to be putting Autofire on now, isn't it? Let's go Superpower again. Yeah, I mean, 1 coin is the proper way to play a shooter, and I don't think any scores after the first coin should really count. But it's a case of, you know, a lot of players are only going to be putting in more credits if they know their score's safe. If you tell them to continue... Okay. If you're telling them to continue and lose their score, they're just going to go, well, I don't play this anymore. And then arcade operators are going to get... Oh, okay, I don't like enemies coming from behind me. I'm trying to get to the bottom of the screen and being killed for my efforts. So, again, you don't come here for the good play. You come here just to see a few games and for me to talk about them a bit and say if, you know, they're worth playing. And yeah, Super X is worth playing. Super X could be on a list of games that are cab-worthy. It's not your A-list shooter, obviously, but if you want something a bit different, this one is definitely one of the better Dooyong games, in my opinion. Even if it's kicking my bum. Let's just bomb a few things. Yes, there you go. So yes, well, I'll probably not play the next stage. Have I broken the game? No, it continues. Yeah, it's not bad if you want to break Bob. I mean, obviously, it's not total on quality, but it's not terrible Korean quality either. It's actually very playable, and we're back to a level without the horrible bullet wobble problem now. It's not got as much left-right scrolling. There we go. A bit of a lazy up. I don't think I'm showing that one for. And back to our superpowers. Yeah, Super X. Does sound more like a brand of beer than a shoot 'em up, but you know, maybe you can play Super X while drinking some Super X. I appear to just have some black cherry bourbon, which is definitely not Super X. It is a perfectly good drink, and it can't make my gameplay abilities any worse. So yes, I probably used about 30 credits there and got practically nowhere, but this was Super X. I suggest if you like your budget shooters, give it a try, and maybe you can beat the high score and not just come 9th. Is the parent set? The parent set just shows the original Dooyong copyright. I'm not aware of any specific differences in anything else. You know, just no. I mean, in fact, the parent shows NTC, but I think NTC is another licensee. We probably don't have a set that shows Dooyong. Yeah, there's just those two sets. A lot of the time with those Dooyong games, the only difference is the tile ROM that's got the actual copyright details in. I don't know about that specific case, but I don't think they were changing much between revisions or versions. But yeah, so the parent's NTC, that's Mitchell. I think it's developed by Dooyong, and they just both license it. So I promised Carlo Gemini Wing. So this is Tecmo 87. It's been a long time since I played this one, so excuse any awful play that might be on show here, more so than usual. I do like that startup screen, very fancy. Okay, so nice colour cycling title. Your good Tecmo Bunny. They didn't really use that Tecmo Bunny sprite for very long, did they? But this is one of the games that has it on there. And the glory of wings. Chicken wings, I'm assuming. With a very rude bottom score. Now, this is one of those where you carry your pouch behind the ship. There were a couple of games like this. What's the ones? I think Starjack has got a similar mechanic where you've got things trailing behind the ship. Psycho Space Bomber, you collect things behind your ship too. I want to say, what's it called? There's a sort of copy of Star Decker. Cheap Stunt Air, similar. Evening GP, thank you for joining. I hope you're doing well. And yeah, this one is recommended by Carlo. And this is Gemini Wing, and as I say, Zypho was playing the CPC version on his own stream a few days ago. So let's have a look at the arcade version of Gemini Wing. You see, it's nice and fast and smooth. Well animated. If the volume needs adjusting, let me know, because it's very hard for me to tell. There we go. Quite unusual enemy designs. Get your pouch, add them to a little chain behind your ship. I can launch one of them as a special power by pressing the second button. I think they always go in the order you've got, and I don't think you can change the order then. You see, there are lots of enemies if you don't kill them. They do come quick and fast. Quick and fast? They're the same thing. Quick and in large numbers. Quick and quantified. This one's even got its own chain behind it, which drops a chain, a whole bunch of things you can pick up to add to your chain. And that's really sort of the key mechanic of this one is you have all these things behind you that you can use. No, Zypho's a pretty obscure tuber GP, and I'm not surprised if people haven't heard of his streams, but they're alright, they're not too bad. He tries hard. I think he does something called marbles sometimes too. It's usually rigged, but you know, it's fair enough. You have a bit of fun on the streams anyway. So I'm probably not meant to be using this many of the items, but I really don't know when it's safe to be using them and when it isn't. Oops, I crashed. Let's pretend that didn't happen. But yeah, this is obviously much better than the CPC version. Hey Cosmic, thank you for joining. I hope you're doing well. I don't recall seeing you here before, so if it's your first time, thank you for joining, and I hope you find what's on offer enjoyable. And if you've been lurking other times, or if I've just absolutely forgotten that you were here before, I apologise. Yeah, Gemini. Now, I love these things where something comes from behind a waterfall. I don't know, I just love water effects in games. Taito's Gun Frontier, or Gun and Frontier, depending on region, has a really nice waterfall part 2 on the first level. Yeah, this holds up really well from 87. I mean, the art is just great. Your hitbox is quite big on this one compared to some games, I have to say. So if you're used to bullet hells, then you're probably going to get caught out a few times, but it's just the nature of it. Now, there's no rose scroll effects on the water here. It's just some tile cycling, so it could have more effects, but yeah, it still holds up really well. Ah, Cosmic. Okay, yeah, I just say that. I am still using the same shader setup as well. It did have some updates recently, so some of the issues which were present in the early streams are fixed. Oh look, we've got the trees have eyes. And bullets. And they're not happy with me shooting them. Okay, glad you're enjoying it then, Cosmic. Yeah, and you say, always feel free to ask any questions or join, if you've got any trivia, throw it forward, or just lurk. I'm happy with people lurking as long as they're enjoying themselves. That's always good. Yeah. Water is just... Oh, we've got checkpoints. Water always makes for a good... If it's done well, it always makes for a good visual effect in games. And waterfalls especially are one case you can do that. And of course the whole fantasy of jumping through waterfalls is something we kind of have in our childhood, isn't it? So enemies popping through waterfalls, yeah, it fits with kind of what we want to see in games. These shots aren't very powerful for dealing with those things. Now the other way, of course, to stop people credit feeding tutors is to have checkpoints, but that also stops people actually seeing them or just getting to later points to practice them. I'm not always a fan of forced checkpoints. I think they make games a little too frustrating. As I talked about with Double Wing, where we now have a set that isn't checkpointed as of last year. And it actually meant without cheats I get to see all the game. Not be good at it, but I get to see it. So there's a bit of a nature theme going on with this one, isn't there? Lots of things behind you as well, so you do have to be careful. Let's get some power-ups. Yeah, it definitely reminds me a bit of Space Bomber in the collecting power-ups behind you sense, although in Space Bomber... Oh, right, back to the start of the level. In Space... The optional low-pass filter, yeah, if you have a play with the settings, you can make it look even nicer, can't you? I tend to stick with the defaults myself, because I just want people to know that it looks good out the box too. And they don't have to have some technical knowledge of tweaking things per game. Just turn it on and enjoy it. No, I do have a very cheap FreeSync monitor, but it's probably the worst monitor I own, so I'm not even using it. Don't buy cheap LG monitors. They're bad. I'm just using a regular monitor and dealing with a bit of tearing. I'm kind of used to it. I mean, plenty of games have tearing anyway, so it doesn't bother me as much as maybe it would bother some people. But, I think if you want a good FreeSync monitor or G-Sync monitor, you have to pay good money. If you go for a budget one, there are so many other issues with them. So there's just so much visible blur on the display of the cheap one. Everything that's moving has got a trail behind it, even without CRT effects, so not great. But I mean, the technology, the actual FreeSync G-Sync technology is great for emulation, but it's obviously not great if you've only got a cheap monitor that barely supports it. I'm quite bad at Gemini Wing. I've established this much. Keep playing a little bit. Keep playing a little bit though. Yeah, are you talking about on stream? I mean, streaming is always going to be a problem because everything's got to be adjusted for YouTube anyway, so it wouldn't matter if I was using a proper 54Hz display to play on. The stream is always going to be at 60, so you're always going to get that slight issue with flickering. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things. You can't really have a variable rate stream. This game is tough. Really tough. Oh, I'm just really, really bad. I mean, oh, on your own setup. Yeah, if you want to avoid that type of thing, you do need a good, say, FreeSync G-Sync compatible card and screen. Just don't try and do it on a budget, is what I'll say, because I tried to do it on a budget and the results were not great. I should have just got a different monitor with less features, but would have probably had a better display quality for the purpose I have. So that monitor is actually the one I'm just using for my third monitor, the OBS monitoring one, which seems like a waste of a FreeSync monitor, but it's just not nice to look at. The colours are really off on it too. Try and put it in game mode and play a Spectrum game, and the yellow loading borders are close to orange, and there's no other way to adjust the colours when you're in game mode. And out in game mode, you've got loads more display latency. So yeah, cheap LG monitor, don't buy it. Can't remember the model number. I'm being killed by butterflies, Thomas. Yes. So this was Gemini Wing. I'm absolutely terrible at it. It's a very pretty game, and it's a very good game, and it does deserve to be on like best game lists. But I think the only way you're going to see me get past level 2 is if they show level 2 in a track mode, which is not me getting past it, or if I put some cheats on. I'm not sure I want to do either. I see GT5, not GTA 5, it's second place now. I beat them. Here's a level I didn't get to. With a nice power-up. A fiery dragon breath type power-up, burning holes through things. Yeah, I would recommend it. I'm pretty sure the monitors you could get 5 years ago are better than the budget ones now. And even some of the mid-range ones seem a bit... it seems to have gone for... It seems to be at a point where the high-end ones are really good and everything else is not so good. But unfortunately, you know, I needed a new monitor and then I decided I wanted a... Well, I got the bad one, then I decided I didn't like that enough to use it as a monitor for anything serious, and so I got a third one, so now I've got my whole nice 3-monitor setup. Although they're all different monitors. Gemini Wing is a really good looking game. I think it's one of Tecmo's best actually from the period. And they didn't do that much else that's up there for shooters, I feel. I mean, there were a few, but a bit hit and miss. I mean, if you put Final Star Force on, I think that's a really bad game. Star Force itself was good. I don't know. But maybe I'm just overlooking things or forgetting about them. This one always stands out as one of the better ones to me. And look at these lightning effects too, where it's making the sprites black to show how bright the lightning is. You know, the silhouette effect. There's a lot going on. We've got some animated water here as well. The attract mode is showing more of the game than I can possibly show, and also showing, you know, how good it looks. So sometimes attract modes are really good like that, and you get to see a fair bit of game. Anyway, I'm going to switch games now because unless you want to see me cheat my way through the game, it's not going to be that entertaining because you just see me dying on that level again and again and again. So, close that one. Change to my horizontal view because I know exactly what I'm doing next. And I'm even getting the Xbox pad for it because it benefits a little bit from analog controls, which is why it is not in the all killer list, because this is AV Cop from Sega. Yeah, the response time isn't great, and if you put the low response time on, it's worse. The light around the edges is uneven, so it's brighter in the corners than is in the middle. It's just a horrible screen. I wouldn't recommend it at all. Just avoid cheap LG ones. So this is AB Cop, which is Airbike Cop. And I think I've said this before, but that's the worst logo ever. That is just a generic font that I had on the Amiga. I think it's like Brush Script or Airbrush. I think it was even called Airbrush on the Amiga. And so I always think of this as Airbrush Cop. 12.5 isn't the same CPU. It's a 68K. The Mega CD and... Mega Drive had 68Ks, although 12.5 I think might have been what the Mega CD was clocked at. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, this is Sega's X board. Same one that powers the likes of Afterburner. But yes, what is this? Well, let's coin it up and press start. So, it's basically Chase HQ on a big fancy bike. Now you do have jumps, which you can use at any time, but I generally recommend saving them for the boss. Now if you hit up and down on the throttle, you do your fancy jump. So let's go, let's just chase you down. So yeah, you're running along, and if you don't keep sort of waggling up and down, your top speed will go down a little bit. So you have to keep doing this to reuse the thruster, and you can do that as many times as you want. So you've got to knock the guys off the bikes to start the stage. And there's one left. He's right there, taking another hit. So, and then you get the boss. Now the bosses, you can attack them low. You do 1 bit of damage. Avoid their attacks too, of course. Or if you jump at them, you can hit them higher up and kill them off more quickly, which is handy. Which is why I say save the jumps to the bosses, because you'll often need them because you've got a quite strict time, and there's no real benefit to jumping during most of the levels. Hey Leoga, I hope you're doing good. Thank you for joining. This is AB Cop, Airbike Cop from Sega. Sort of their attempt at doing a Chase HQ type game. And yeah, there are jumps you can pick up during the level if you know where they are. If you don't know where they are, then learn where they are, because you probably want to pick them up. Now, I think I might have put this on easy before I did the stream, because I want to look like I'm actually not terrible at the game, but I'm probably still going to look like I'm terrible at the game. Again, this visually, this holds up really, really well. And I think this is probably one of Sega's most underrated sprite scalers. It's just solid chase them down. Is that genre, chase them down? Not really shooting up, it's not really driving, it's chasing. There you see, there are lots of pouts there. Now you can get ahead of them, which is never really a good idea, because then you can't attack them. Here we go, next boss, so let's jump into him. Oh, didn't jump in very well, and got hit by his very... I'm doing terrible here. Got hit by his very Space Harrier-like... I don't like this guy. How not to play the second level of this game. There you go. Take that, take that, take that, take that, and take that. There we go. And obviously not talking about Take That, the boy band. I'm talking about that ugly person. White powder in the Orient. Hunt down the Shogun Death Dealer. So yes, I don't think this got ported to anything of note, if it got ported to anything at all. Certainly not a game that got home ports on the 8-bits, which surprises me again. I'm really not sure why. You would have thought this would be sort of up there with your Chase HQs, your Outruns, your Afterburners. But it seemed to be largely forgotten. And sometimes it helps to slow down and not crash into every post in the middle of the road. Now you do have time limits at each section. You have time limits to the boss battle, time limits to kill the guys on the way to the boss, and every one of them takes 2 hits, and I'm doing really badly, so I'll probably end up not making it to the boss. Yeah, I've got 3 to kill and 5 seconds, that's not happening, is it? No. Time of... No, I never saw this one anywhere. I think it must be quite a rare game. I don't know. Sega must just not have believed in it or distributed it enough, or it just proved unpopular. I'm really not sure. But it's... it does feel a little bit rushed with that title logo as well. So I don't really know what the story is. It's never got a sequel. I don't think there's even... You know, I don't think there's any cameos of his airbike either. I don't think the airbike appears in anything like Cool Riders, which would maybe be a natural place for it. It's just a forgotten Sega game. I'm doing no better. And I say you can jump at any point in the stages, but you've got limited jumps up there in the corner. But if you compare this to, say, some of the other export games like Racing Hero, this is far better. Come on. No. Okay, boss time. Now, that's not what most drug dealers look like if you ask me, but we'll just accept that the drug dealer is a dual sword wielding samurai thing. Also out of jumps, which is never good. You're literally throwing skulls at me. Because you can only do 1 bar of damage at a time when you're just bashing into it without the jumps, which makes it much trickier. But I have put it on easy, so... Yeah, I don't think it did get any console ports, Bob. I think it's just got left in the arcades and barely even in the arcades. And that's just one of the more bizarre cases of, you know, forgotten Sega IP. And I've got a killer clown who keeps somebody in the desert. Oh, and we've got the clown people, little clown icons for the I'm chasing down here. Oop. I mean, the formula doesn't really change between levels, so maybe that's it. pardon me, a bit of an issue with it, but it is a solid formula, and it's a good sense of speed. There's a good speed rush when you're playing it. So, and the levels are trickier. They all have unique themes. Right, let's catch up with you. I can get rid of these. I think these require 3 hits though, don't they? One left. There we go. Boss time. Yeah, this is really just Sega's take on Chase HQ, and not, you know, the battle outrun take, which was only on the Master System. It can get quite frustrating when you've got to avoid lots of balls, though, right here. Take that. There we go. Out of jumps, but we'll see if I'm okay. It is much easier when you put the difficulty in easy like this. I was struggling to get past the second level earlier. Yeah, I would have thought it would be, and I think it must have had some kind of custom controls, because you've got your steering, you've got your throttle that you have to keep twisting back and forward to do the boost, and then you've got your jump. Yeah, I'll play this level. This might be the last level. Don't think it's a long game, but I'll play this, and if I fail, I fail. If I don't, well, you might get to see an ending of a game. But I think it should have got a Saturn port at least. Saturn could have handled this. But, it did not. It's better than things like Taito's riding fight. So this is the futuristic theme one, which fits better with the air bike thing in the first place. Like Sonic-like music in the background too. Music's quite quiet though, so if you can't hear it, you can't hear it. Yeah, I'm not going to manage to do this though, there's too many bikes, and I've made a bit of a mess of it. Yeah, this works fine if you map the throttle to up-down on the right analog stick as analog, and the steering to the left analog stick, and then like one of the right triggers as jump. I've gone ahead of everybody, haven't I? Okay, I have failed this stage. Yeah, it definitely needs a bike handle control. Maybe there was no deluxe cabinet of it then. It would definitely be custom controls, hence not being on the no killer list in the first place. Yeah, it's a very playable Sega game that just seems to get overlooked all the time. It's certainly one I'm happy to put in a fair bit of time with. Should be lol. There we go. I got the top score on area 3-1. 3-1? How do you work out 3-1? I'm not sure. I thought I'd completed more than 3 stages. There you go. Right. So I guess we should move on. Shall we stick with bikes? But rewind in time a little. I think we will. I'm going to look at one where I think I fixed a slight issue earlier today. No, not Paperboy Thomas. No, I think Paperboy is a potential one. But I'm going to be looking at Seibu's Shot Rider. Now, this is from 85, and like literally about 2 hours before the stream, I was having to play with the driver and tweaking the interrupt generation behaviour, because there was a bug where the countdown at the start of the race would be much slower visually than the audio, so it would feel really out of place and out of sync. And I changed it similar to the final Star Force fix, where if there's not much going on, it can generate more than 1 interrupt per frame. Now, I do wonder if the colours are correct on this section actually that's in the track mode now, but the palette hardware seems simple, so they probably are. Anyway, this is... MAME is always good for your ego, because you get the... You didn't see Super X. I got like the bottom score almost. But yeah, sometimes I get the top score. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it doesn't matter if there's not that much variety, does it? You're having fun, bit of recycled content, doesn't matter too much. Sometimes it helps if there is variety. I mean, say, I really enjoy Sega's Cool Riders for the variety, even though it does reuse a handful of stages on different routes with different layouts. But this is basically bump and jump with bikes. And if you saw the countdown at the start of the race, it was roughly in sync now. It didn't have a massive wait of about 3 or 4 seconds after it made the sound before you could actually do anything. So I think I have fixed that bug. And it was merged in, so the next release should have that fixed. Oh, I was reading the chat, not looking where I was going. But yeah, this is a fairly simple one. Knocking other bikes into cars, into the side, adds to your bump counter at the bottom, which in turn gives you more fuel. Sometimes you get a little police chase, which hasn't happened yet, but we'll see if it does happen. You've got your accelerate and you've got your brake. It's all joystick based. There's no control reason why this one couldn't have been on the list. I think it's just not a very popular game. Maybe it is a bit too close to Bump and Jump, but Bump and Jump is also missing from the list, so... Maybe whoever compiled the list does not like bumpy vehicle games. Possibly, Bob, possibly. I mean, I'm not denying it. We tend to pick things that are memorable, and so sometimes silly set names are memorable. I mean, you've got... Magic Sword is MS Word as well, isn't it? So, you know, there's a few that are quite silly, but it makes them easy to remember. Well, I say that. And I did kind of forget what this one was called. So, I think Mighty Bomb Jack used to have a silly set name, if it still doesn't. Doesn't still even. Mixing up my words. Now, I don't know why in all these games you get fuel for destroying other bikes, because that's just about as logical as getting fuel for blowing up fuel in a scramble. But that's how games work. 8.3 forever. I mean, there's not a strict 8.3 rule, but if you're trying to keep your set name in 8 characters, it is more memorable and quicker to type, and we do develop from the command line still. I mean, it's just far quicker that way. So having a memorable name that you can easily type from the command line is handy. I'm not doing very well. I did far better at this when I was practicing earlier. Because believe it or not, sometimes if I know I'm going to play something, I will practice it. Unlike Gemini Wing, I didn't practice Gemini Wing at all. Yeah, early Seibu. It's kind of it uses an IBM sound system, and the other game on the hardware is from IBM. So I don't know what the connection was. If there's any connection with Seibu hardware, or if it's actually IBM hardware entirely. The original version of this also has a custom encryption module on it, but wasn't too tricky to figure out. You see, I'm just bashing all the bikes, building up my fuel. If you manage to get to the actual fuel stops with plenty of driv eyes, is that a suggestion, or are you saying that's an amusing set name? Some set names still annoy me. I don't think World Heroes should be just WH, and Virtual Racing should just be VR, and other really short ones like that. But I guess they are memorable. So this is the section where the colours seem a bit odd to me, but there's nothing to really suggest they're wrong. Except the map where it's brown, but that's just a map. Unfortunately, being quite a rare game, you're not going to find original hardware videos easily. The encryption on this was just a bit of a bit swap, I think. Nothing complex. It's no Contra. So yeah, with Contra it turns out that basically every port we can find that's emulation based has the same glitch, including official Konami ones from much more recently. That's really quite bad. I mean, I know the NES version of Contra is far better, but if you're going to be putting out official compilations, you would have thought somebody would have checked it and noticed it and maybe worked it out. But apparently not. Apparently they must have seen MAME as, you know, reference and just gone with it. So yeah, this one, I quite enjoy this one. This one, apart from this section where I'm really bad at it because it's much more difficult to see where the road is. Yeah. Now this is assuming I am male, which is not wrong, but it is an assumption. I'll be TTT. Yes, losing source code, especially for protection-related things, although in this case it wasn't an MCU, is quite common, unfortunately. It happens a lot. Quite often you'll find companies have maybe backups of the ROMs, but not the internal ROM for whatever protection device was used, or they have backups of the unencrypted version, not the encrypted versions. There's a lot that only exists on PCBs and needs recovering from PCBs. They must have thought too highly of MAME devs. Or just they didn't have much quality control. I mean, yeah, the hamster version is going to be MAME because we've already found like Dracula X. The hamster thing is just MAME, and I think it was quite controversial at the time. I think Santelli was saying last time, as soon as it was found out back when they were being released, that series ended, and it was found they were MAME. But there's not so much excuse for the newer versions, but maybe just finding original references of it was difficult. Maybe people didn't notice. Maybe just nobody actually wanted to play Contra. Anyway, this was Shot Rider. I quite like this one. And say there is a little bug fix on this this countdown here, which now syncs. You know, once the final beat goes, you can actually accelerate. And in the older versions, you couldn't. So I think that's fixed. I've not noticed any other problems in the game as a result of it, and I've not noticed any problems in Traverse USA, the other thing in the driver. So, yeah, 231 should have that fixed. And 231 should have fixes to the Twinkle Star Sprites music issue that have been introduced recently. And also the Shinobi symbols. There's a bug fix on him for that too. So, you know, these updated sound cores are getting better all the time, as bugs are reported and found and fixed. Terminator 2 Arcade on Genesis still has no gunfire sound, but I think that's a Genesis emulation problem, because it doesn't even appear to be sending anything to the sound chip for the gunfire. People lose the source code all the time, and you've got to look at how many of these IPs have changed hands over the years. You know, companies will buy up all the IP of another company, but all the original source code will still be in an office somewhere when the original company closed down and or in the bins. So the current right holders to a lot of these games have no access whatsoever to the original code. And so yeah, you're relying on emulation quite heavily. Should we go a bit sporty next? Is this vertical? I think it's vertical. Ping Pong King. Now this is a Taito sports game from, when was it? 85. Hey Dink, thank you for joining. I don't know, Dink, how the source code ended up available. I know there were things like that Power Up Baseball turned up, didn't it? Maybe it's something similar to that. I don't know. People clear out offices, people die, old CDs get sold, all sorts of things. There could be any number of reasons. So why have I put Ping Pong King on anyway? Well, I think mainly because if you look at how the sprites, the main player sprite's done, that is a palette manipulation effect on hardware from 1985, which is kind of uncommon. So you can see the outline of the player, but your character, but it's also blending, changing the part of what's behind it. So it's an actual transparency effect in 1985, using palette techniques of changing the pen from one to another based on something being underneath it. And obviously some other hardware did similar for shadows when it wasn't just doing a flickery shadow effect. But to see it with a full colour effect in 85 is, a bit ahead of its time, I'd say. The original recordings, the FMVs. They were very cheesy FMVs, weren't they, Cosmic, the Westwood ones? They're memorable, but yes, they were very, very cheesy. Anyway, let's coin up Ping Pong King and have a little play of it. So this is... It's one of those that asks you for your name at the start. That always annoys me, because you kind of want to get straight into the game, especially if you don't know if you're going to do very well, which I don't. A bit of speech. Speech had been done much earlier, but it's always nice to hear a little bit of speech. So, wrong button. And as you will find, I'm not very good at this. Now, up and down change your stance, so that's important to know. I don't know if it would actually be up and down on joystick, or if it would have used maybe a different control setup, but in MAME it's up and down on joystick. Don't hit the ball that way. Don't hit it too early. Don't hit it too late. Anyway, are you putting your hand up there, Dink? How's the final burn development going anyway at the moment? Have you been finding any other main bugs to fix? I did mention you'd fixed Battle Road, was it? In MAME on a previous stream. I've not actually played and showed it off on stream though, because it's the last boss, isn't it? Which would take a while to get to unless I prepare a save state. I actually had a nice rally going on this earlier. Apparently I'm not getting a nice rally going this time. I'm wondering if it's just because I'm playing on the other screen. Maybe it's something that subtle. You've got a second sort of... Yes, the guy's expression on the left is about how I'm feeling playing this. Yes, this is Ping Pong King, and it's actually a good ping pong game. I mean, I love Konami's ping pong, I love Speed Spin, but this is, it's got a bit of charm to it, and it's got that nice effect. It's got a very silly walk there, but we all love silly walks, don't we? It's very difficult to know, SB, and welcome to the stream, by the way. A lot of the time, especially in early MAME, we were just having to guess. Since then, and YouTube and all the video sharing services have come along, and people recording hardware videos, we've got a bit more to go on. But one of the reasons a lot of old MAME versions are really quite bad is because we just had nothing to go on. I mean, nobody was going to guess this was going to be, a transparency without video reference, because 1985 transparency effects, somewhat unheard of. Me playing a game well, also somewhat unheard of. I'm not sure which is less common. Yeah, as I mentioned, I think I just improved a Shock Rider before the stream. Little bugs. Sometimes they just require an idea that you maybe didn't have before. In the case of Shock Rider, it's the fix for Final Star Force I did that made me think, well, maybe that applies there too. And it looks like it did. Okay, this isn't actually as difficult as I'm making it look out. Look. Silly walks have not been given the funding it needs. How many people work on MAME? That's a good question, GP. And it varies all the time. A lot of the current MAME work is done by external contributors. I mean, technically, I would be classed as an external contributor at this point, because I'm not part of the core team with direct access to the project, so I have to make pull requests to get them in. But that just seems to be the way the organisation of it's going. But it makes it even more difficult to really say how many people are involved. MAME sets with questionable name stream when? I don't know. You have to give me a list of all the sets, all the games with questionable names. Yeah, 363 contributors. But what is a contributor these days? I don't know. At any one time, there's not that many, but people will just come and go. Some people will commit 1 or 2 things a year, but they'll be really important things. I've been looking at Sasuke's arcade contributions recently, and they've improved some Nichibutsu games quite dramatically. I looked at, it was Mighty Garden Stream the other day, and that is much better these days. Ninja Umaki is much better than it used to be. And, they've maybe made a handful of contributions over the last 2 years, but they're all ones that have made a real big difference to the emulation. Exactly, Cosmic. It's not always the best indication, although even small typo fixes are important for, the project looking good. You don't want source files littered with typos or incorrect information. But at the same time, those changes aren't making the emulation better, but they are improving the documentation. And yeah, it's very difficult to say for sure. You get a feel for it if you follow the project. Yeah, it does add up. People making the little but important fixes over the years. I say, Thomas. And there were definitely people in the history of the project who have, done one thing, but it's been an important thing. And when we're talking about GitHub contributions, I mean, MAME's only been on GitHub for about half the life of the project, not the first 10 years. When I was doing the source releases and maintaining it, project coordinator stuff, it was all done by hand. We didn't even have SVN. It was a case of, you send your diffs in, I apply them to my local tree, we work it all out from there, because there were things like Source, what's the other open source? SourceForge, but the tools available for Windows at the time were really rough, so it didn't really make much sense. Even when we first switched to SVN, the tools on Windows were kind of hairy. These days, Git, I don't think Git's ideal. It's a real pain to use, but it does allow things to be managed properly. And there are people who have done one thing and it wasn't very important. That is also true, yes, Bob. That is very true. There are people who have done one thing and then we've gone, why did we accept that? We better revert it, because we find out they're just making things up on the fly. There was somebody like that making changes to the vSmile software lists, and I think we accepted one of the contributions and then just realised nothing they were changing had been verified. They were just making things up. They were adding dates to things that had no basis in reality. So it's like, we'll revert that one. Yeah, I do develop on Windows Cosmic. I've tried Linux a few times, but I've always encountered issues. So I always end up back on Windows. It's a shame, but that is how it is. Anyway, that was Ping Pong King from Taito. I think that's a good one. It's a ping pong game I play. It's a ping pong game that requires a bit of mastering, and but it's also fun. Right, now I'm going to go with one that I don't know if is on the All Killer No Filler list, and that is Super Dodgeball. Because technically Super Dodgeball is on the All Killer No Filler list. However, the All Killer No Filler list does not specify which version of Super Dodgeball. And the batch file that people are using for All Killer No Filler copies over the files for the much older version, not the Neo Geo version. So if when the list was compiled they meant the Neo Geo version, then the actual batch file that somebody has made is copying the wrong version. But since the Neo Geo version does not get copied, I'll play the Neo Geo version. Which, of course, is a pretty good game. Doesn't mean I'm good at it. Doesn't mean I have any clue how to play it because I've not played it for about 7 years. But it's a good dodgeball game. I mean, there's not much competition in terms of dodgeball games. You've got V-Ball, you've got the older Super Dodgeball, and you've got this. I don't know if there's any others, but those are the only ones that come to mind. But yes, you're just throwing balls at people and trying not to get hit by a ball. Hence, you know, dodgeball. You can also catch them if you're lucky or skillful. It's impressive how they managed to actually make dodgeball into an arcade game. You would have thought it would not work at all, but it does. It works rather well, actually. And everybody's got their own individual energy bar, like it's a fighting game. Yeah, you get out. You're out. You're out soon. No. It does actually, doesn't it? It's got that beat to it. So. You're right, Bob. I couldn't quite place it, but you're right. Streets of Rage 2 is okay. The AI suddenly got super aggressive. Now this is obviously making quite heavy use of the Neo Geo zooming to zoom in and out the playfield the whole time, which you might consider to be a little likely to cause motion sickness. Also, I just lost. It's not enough. I want more. There will be another credit to this because this was the first match. I've clearly forgotten how to play this game. Well, yeah, very attractive graphics, different arenas, different courts. It's a high effort game for a dodgeball game. Don't use the taunt button in this situation. If the taunt button is really just... Okay. So yeah, once the people are out, they can actually just still, you know, take part from the ring side, as you're saying here. This sounds less like Streets of Rage music. But again, that must mean that each arena has its own theme, so once more, high effort for a dodgeball game. Even if I'm sort of just using the character on the outside right now. Because apparently the first match is actually really easy. I just made it look difficult the first time. There we go. I win. Yeah, Neo Geo has hardware scaling. Not the best hardware scaling in the world, but it does have hardware scaling. A lot of the later games don't use it because I think the novelty had worn off by then, but it does do scaling. You see, there are quite a few of the early games make heavy use of it. Art of Fighting makes heavy use of it. The Samurai Showdown games do. Even things like Metal Slug use it in places. Not extensively, but more subtle. In addition, you'll, I believe, use it for those explosions that I never really liked. Baseball themed fighting game on a PC. Is it more than just Ninja Baseball Batman, or is it sort of we liked Ninja Baseball Batman, so we made it a fighting game? Oh dear, that was bad. Oh, hey, stop it. That's my tactic. So yeah, as I say, I don't know if this is the one that was intended to be in the no filler list. When am I going to get the list name right? One of these days. Not today, clearly. But this one is not in the batch file. Now that's cheating. You kicked me in the face. Where am I? I think I need to do a bit more dodging. Oh dear. The cherry blossoms are in bloom. My team is not in bloom. You're not up to dodge ball. That's the fair assessment. Let's be a different team. Let's be the team they were. I always like the games that have these maps of all the different places you're going to be to. That's got an appeal to me. Except maybe Rough Ranger, because that's just a knockoff of far better games. Now, I was thinking about, you know, the worst games, and Rough Ranger is definitely up there. But you can run too. I forgot that. There you go. You see. But running probably helps. Probably gives you a bit more power. Yeah, I should have probably ran a bit more often. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it, if you think about it? Oh, 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 oh. Nope, you're going to roll the ball. That's not what the game's called. Hey. Referee getting involved. This is a mirror match, isn't it? They're not even palette swaps, they're just the same characters. That's going to get confusing once they're out of the ring and throwing balls back. Again, you're cheating. I don't know how you trigger those flying kicks and stuff. These is all turned... I don't know. I mean, the thing is, not every game I'm playing I'm going to say should be on the lists, Mick. I'm playing some games that I know shouldn't be, just to talk about why they shouldn't be. There's probably a guy passed out drunk in the background. Here? No. Yes, for the final challenge, you must dodge yourself. Unfortunately, we're still on the same stage, so I'm going to give it this credit, then I'm going to move on, because... You know, I think we've seen enough of this. I don't really have a strategy. Oi. I think that was cheating. Get the ball out. So this is... yeah, this is probably the best dodgeball arcade game. As I say, there's not much competition. It's one I played when it was dumped, like back in the day, and it's one of the rarest Neo Geo games. It was said to be at the time. I don't know if that's since been disproven. It was said to be an incredibly rare Neo Geo game back when it was dumped. I played a fair bit of it and wondered why it was such a rare game, because, you know, to me this is a more enjoyable thing to play than yet another fighting game. No, I don't hate fighting games, but I like a bit of variety. And when you're playing a sport that's not well represented, that's a bit of variety, isn't it? Hey. Ow. Ow. Take that. The GB had a version of this, did it? I didn't know that, Super Low Pursuit. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, the Neo Geo kind of got derailed a bit by the whole Street Fighter 2 hype, didn't it? Everything became fighting game. A lot of the non-fighting games ended up cancelled. And that is a shame, because I think it had a lot more to offer outside of fighting games. Looks like a Kaneko game. Why did you say that, Carlo? I mean, Kaneko's not really something I associate with zooming, apart from maybe the Supernova games. Doesn't feel very Kaneko to me. To me, it feels, you know, exactly what it is, which is a Technos game, but a well-programmed Technos game, one of the last Technos games, in fact. But it definitely follows on very well from the other dodgeball games, the Technos dodgeball games. In fact, I think Technos were the dodgeball experts, weren't they? A Kunio D-ball game. Yeah, so it's probably related, but not the same game. I doubt it's a direct port, but I could be wrong. I could be very wrong indeed. But yeah, I quite enjoy that one. If you've not played it, then you go out and play it. I mean, it's one most people maybe played because it's a Neo Geo game and they tend to get played more than anything else. But if you haven't, or you've overlooked it because it's a Neo Geo fighter, then yeah, I think it's one worth playing. So I'm going to risk Namco next. Let me just check this isn't in the list. It's not in the list. It's not in that list. And this is Exvania, which when it was initially added to MAME was called Exvania with a B, because I think the rendering of the title logo is not too clear. Why on earth is DJ Boy being censored, Carlo? DJ Boy looks like it would be eligible. It wasn't on my initial list. I don't know if I'll play it today, but I'll note it down for a possible future stream. There we go, I've noted it down. Right. And also, hey Super Low Pursuit, thank you for joining, thank you for saying hello, and hello Carl Johnson as well, who I appear to have missed. Let me just actually scroll back through the chat because I might have missed a few people. Okay, it doesn't look like I've missed too much, but let me just make sure. I remind you that Ninja Baseball Batman exists. Yeah, I'll have to play Ninja Baseball Batman on another stream. Yes, Carl, it is Kunio. Kunio-kun. Okay, yeah, so I've not really missed anyone. Hey, Mass Ninja, thank you for joining too. And so this is Namco's Exvania. And I can see why it was added to Exvania, because there's a little extra little bit on the V. It just kind of looked like a B. And it's asking me to deposit a coin. I will happily comply. It's quite loud. I'm going to turn it down a bit. So, 4-player game. I'm only playing one game, one player. Oh, you meant DJ Boy looks like Dodgeball. B.Rap Boy. Alright, good night, GP. Thank you for joining as again. It's always good to have you here. I hope you've seen some things maybe you've not seen before. Yes, Exvania is a very Bomberman style game, but from Namco. You've got your little mazes, you beat up your chests, you plant your things, and they explode. I mean, it's Bomberman to the point that I'm kind of surprised Hudson are okay with it. I've not really got a strategy for it though. Apparently you can drop 3 bombs at once. Or maybe that's just because I collected lots of these. And I can drop 4, you see. So I guess I'm meant to dispose of the enemies just like in Bomberman. Maybe, possibly, I don't really know. I'm gonna I don't have a strategy. I'm really bad at Bomberman too, just for the record. I wonder if I actually hit these. Oh, okay, don't do that. Very Bomberman like DJ Exit Tech 81. Yeah, medieval Bomberman, but you don't have to use the bombs to blow up the other things. You can use your chain here, which is extendable. In fact, can you actually kill enemies with your chain? Let me find out. You can stun them, which might be a strategy. Oh, and if you hit the bombs, they explode with a bigger range. Okay. There we go, that's that computer dead, and I get to collect a few. I killed myself. Very easy to just die on these things. But yeah, it's very Bomberman, isn't it? And it's even progressing through stages even when I lose, because apparently that's what it does. Now, if I did that there, then it's going to be a bigger explosion. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm not doing very well here. Can you tell this isn't one I've really played? Yes, it's definitely magical orbs shooting magical electricity energy, not bombs and explosions. But yeah, it is definitely Namco being a little cheeky in copying Bomberman, I have to say. I mean, I'm a little surprised the title screen doesn't say, you know, licensed from Hudson or anything of the sort. Well, greetings from England to Germany, DJ Exitec 81. Is 81 the year of your birth, like mine, or just a year you happen to like for another reason, or is it completely not a year at all? Also, the bombs don't blow up the chests on this. You have to do the chests with your own energy thing. But I don't really have a strategy for this game, unfortunately. Oh, you'll protect them. I mean, it requires thought and you to come up with a strategy, I'd say. Otherwise, you're just going to be doing what I'm doing here and going, right, well, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'll do it anyway. You're trapped. I had a chance to win that, and I just stood exactly where the bomb was going to explode. We'll discuss my abilities at Bomberman type games at some point, but that was a fair assessment of how good I am at Bomberman. I don't think you can kill the dragon, at least not with bombs. Oh, that exploded more quickly than I thought it would. The soundtrack is one of those that's probably going to get me muted on YouTube, unfortunately, because it's Namco. But yeah, the soundtrack is good, Pele. Ah, Butasan Z9K9. That is on my list of games to possibly cover. And that is one I do really enjoy. Because for some reason, it is not, as far as I know, on the All Killer list. It should be. This one, I think, deserves a place because it's an alternative to Bomberman. And if you're absolutely bored to death of Bomberman and want something familiar but still different, this might be the game for you. Ah, got you. I mean, I don't know why that guy didn't just, you know, use his whip on the chest, but I guess the AI can't always be too good. Oh, crap. Yes, your English is probably much, much better than my German. I haven't studied German for a long time, much to the disappointment of my grandparents, who always wanted me to know German and take me to Germany one day, and that never happened. No, I messed it up again. Okay, I am really, really bad at this game. I think this is probably one also to be played with more players. If you've got 4 players, this would probably be a better game. Otherwise, all you're seeing is me get defeated and then it move on to the next level. Because for some reason it doesn't matter if you get defeated, it will move on to the next level. But the whip does do something to the chain, does do something to the dragon, clearly, because it flashes. But maybe you can't kill it. Oh, you can kill it. Dead dragon. Oh, lots of treasure. So apparently you can trap people just by doing that. And now this one is avoiding the bombs I blow. There's no second places here. So is it, where does it go back to? Because my win ratio is clearly 0. So it's still increasing the stage number. Not really changing the theme. I'm assuming the theme just get mixed up later on, but if you're playing like I'm playing, you're never going to see that. Okay. I want to have a look at the attract mode. So I didn't see a level that looked like that. There's a story? Okay. Story is in English too. I skipped the start of it, but there you go. There's a story. I'm just pouring myself another drink while the story is on screen. I'll probably quit the game after this actually, because I don't think you're going to see much else from me playing it, because I just keep trapping myself and I guess Castlevania is just based on the same themes, isn't it? So I wouldn't say it was styled on Castlevania. I'd just say it's based on the same source material. Castlevania itself isn't really an original, you know, concept. It's all based on the whole medieval castles and the like. I've not tried it, Cosmic. I just use MAME from the command line myself, so I don't have any need for a front end. Just to show any different levels. I don't know if there are different style levels, but there were different level layouts that I didn't get to. Anyway, Exvania. Alternative to Bomberman. I'd say it's a pretty good alternative to Bomberman if you want an alternative to Bomberman. There was a game called Fantasy Story, I think, that I worked on the emulation of last year, but it's still marked as not working on the basis there's no sound emulation at the moment, and the pic for it was sent off for decapping, but I don't know what came of that. I just didn't want to promote it too early, although that is also playable, and I might look at that one on a future stream, but not immediately. I'll be ready for some Korean mini-game fun. Hey, abbreviation of OVM. How are you doing? Thank you for joining. Right, so this is Urachacha Mudaeri from Korea by GamToU in 2002. And yes, I've mapped. It's not actually red, green, and blue all the time, but here we go. So what's this? This is a Crystal System game, and it's one of those mini game collections. I think this was dumped last year. Let's coin it up and see what it's got to offer. Oh, there we go. I'm on the toilet. Now this is very Korean, because as was mentioned on the previous stream I did, these things are strangely really, really popular in Korea, to the point they made quite a few of their own games. Don't do it, David. Why not, Carlo? Why not? Is there a reason I shouldn't be playing this game? It's a lot more pixels. What resolution is it? 640 by 480. So you've got to press the right colour. So blue, blue, no blue, 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 red, yellow, blue, blue, yellow, no, blue, yellow, yellow. It would help if the keys were actually coloured, wouldn't it? This is probably the most difficult of the games to play without the actual coloured keys. I need paint to colour my keys. Anyway. Now we've got to mash the buttons and catch the bus game. I don't know why it starts each round in baseball, but... So you've got to catch the bus, and then you've got to... No, I missed it. There we go, got in the bus. Yeah, it's got that Mario Party game feel to it, Wolf has. Like a lot of these did. But, no, I think the other mode lets you choose the mini-games you play in whatever order you want, because I was getting to choose them earlier. Now, does this go Korean quiz now, or something silly? Because I think there is a Korean quiz section in this that is obviously impossible to play if you don't know Korean. This is probably it. So, this is unfortunately one of the problems with Korean mini-game collections, is you quite often get parts that are in Korean. Oh yeah, the crystal system hardware is not bad. I don't honestly know any of these because it's a quiz round. So, you know. I came second. Pick the one with the circles and lines in it. Isn't that all of them, Bob? Did I complete that many? Oh, this one's just matched the card, so this one's easy. I did this one earlier. So it seems to just be a test of how quickly you react and press the button. But they're all really distinctive, so it's not a case of there's ever going to be a question of which one it is. Unless this is just the easy mode version of this and there's a harder mode version, I don't know. There we go. That one's an easy round. So yeah, this was emulated last year, so a lot of people won't have seen this one. I guess, yeah, you're pressing the button to catch the food, aren't you? At the right time. But yeah, the crystal system could have done a lot more than it did. Okay, you press it the colour it turns, okay. Okay. This requires much better reactions than the previous round. You press it too early, you don't get it. No, Carlo. SNK had nothing to do with the crystal system. If anything, it was meant as a competition to the Neo Geo, but never really took off. So what we got here? Skiing. I guess again we're pressing a button of the colour to match something. Or is it just any button? Maybe it's just any button. It's downhill moon patrol without any shooting. This one seems a lot simpler. Well, I say that and I keep falling off this. Yeah, okay. Didn't win, did I? I can continue. There's more rounds to see. Oh, it's another one that probably requires knowledge of Korean. Hold on. Yeah, this is one of the issues. You do get rounds that unfortunately require knowledge of Korean, and I can still pick the one with squiggly lines and circles, but Yeah, I'm always going to lose a life on that one. I thought I'd demonstrate this one because it's probably one of these minigame collections a lot of people haven't seen, owing to having a name that doesn't stand out and being in Korean. Ah yes, dodge the letters. I need to learn lots of things. I think this is just a lane based one, so go that lane. Oh, that's a jump. Oh, come on, give me another chance. Can you tell I'm quite bad at these? One mistake and you're lost alive. You see, there's plenty of rounds though. Apparently we're in the toilet now. That always bodes well. Honestly, I have no idea. What am I meant to be doing? I don't know what I'm meant to do. Korean is meant to be well designed. Maybe it'd be a bit easier to learn some other languages then. But yeah, I don't know what I was doing in that round. Apparently, I won that round. Yes, this is up there with the Jin-kun from last stream, I think. This is just a button masher pushing to the subway thing. This mini game's in quite a few, pushing them to the lift in this case. This mini game's in quite a few collections. Just a button masher, so quite an easy one. But we'll see how far we go. Ballet dancing. Yeah, I could make a collection of a stream of just the strangest games in MAME, couldn't I? So this is copy the lights. I have moo on my headband. Would Cow like to say anything about my headband containing the word moo? If Cow is still here. Oops. Should really look at the screen. Don't know what's going on with the music here. Yes, Jin-kun was a fun one. It's one of my favourites. It's one of my go-to very strange games in MAME. I got it wrong. Well, how many more of these do I have to remember? Well, I won that round, you see. I can do that one. I don't know how many rounds there are in this, actually. It's more than I expected. We haven't got to the best one yet. There's a definite best round in this. So, football challenge. Let's have a look. Okay, it's just it's a goalkeeper one. You press the direction of the ball. I'll just tell you first. So it's a colour. The colour of the just before the shot is the colour it's going to be. I probably didn't do that well then. Oh, mash the buttons. Oh, if it's a draw, you get a round like that where you've got to push the other person out of the ring, sumo style, which I forgot because I didn't think it was a draw. Shaving? I don't know. I'm not sure. Not shaving. Yes, and I'm feeling lucky script. If you customize one of those, oh, it's So this is the suspect. So yeah, it's showing you the suspect, you press him before the other person, basically. I think it has an end. I think it has a limited number of rounds. I'm probably going to... Actually, I'll let me reset it now. I'm not going to tell you the whole way through. I think if you choose the other option here, you just choose 3 stages. So you can see all the different stages. So I would say there's more than I've seen already. There's a lot of them. Which one do I want to look at? So, I don't know. I can't even see the one I wanted to look at on here, so I think even in the random selection, it doesn't give you them all every time. So if we reset this again and go random selection again, is it going to be the same set of games? Or is it going to be different ones? Oh, yeah, I think maybe it's always the same one. There's this game where it's a case of finding who dealt it. I think this is about as crude as the stream gets. Korea. So that's blue. Very mature, isn't it? You can tell from the sound too. So yes. Let's say that second mode is just play 3 different games, you choose them yourself. So yeah. Anyway, a bit different. Something you've probably not seen before. And therefore something I felt was worth featuring. Right. I could go with another minigame collection. I'm feeling lucky plus mature.ini. That's a different kind of lucky, Bob. Yeah, let's put Treasure Hunt by Sega. Now this one, I've found you have to run with the no DRC command line option to turn off the recompiler, otherwise it will randomly freeze. Just completely randomly. If you leave it in the track mode, it will still freeze. I don't know why. But this is the 3rd puzzle and action game, and this is one that was on STV hardware. Let's speed through this a little bit. So yeah, let's stick with minigame collections now. You get more for your money, don't you? Come on. Sound System Library by InVision. So if you saw me play Ishiden R on the last stream, this is basically the sequel to it. I've got it in speed up mode, I shouldn't do that. This is Treasure Hunt, or Sando R as it was in Japan. But you see, you've got your familiar Bonanza Brothers themed characters, but you've got a whole new set of minigames, and many of these use 3D elements, which you couldn't have on the older Mega Drive based hardware. Yeah, were you here for Ishiden R yesterday, Aaron? Because it's very similar visual style, because it's all based on sort of the Bonanza Brothers style of character. But here we go. So let's coin this one up, and it shouldn't freeze because I am using the no recompiler flag, but we'll see. We'll see. And this does say this is an official English localization too. And it's always nice when you get those. Yeah, this is Saturn Hardware Pele, so it's going to be like that. Let's go Lucky. I think that's just Lucky Dip. So let's find the different tetrahedron. Look at the colour arrangement carefully. Ooh. Right, so it's going to be the one in the bottom corner because it's got purple light. It's going to be the one in the bottom corner again. It's going to be trickier because it didn't have a different colour on it. Is it that one? No. This is actually trickier than you'd imagine. That one's got purple on it. And there we go. I get the treasure. But yeah, was the 4th game, Satsu, also on the Saturn? Probably. I mean, it makes sense to port it. So this one is, again, I think this is looked at a different one. Which shape has the which has the same shape with the backs? Yeah, which one? So it looks like it's going to be. Oh. Alright, I've got to find the one that looks like the one that's got the question mark on. Okay. So, this is actually really tricky. You've got to visualise the 3D shapes, which is something I'm really bad at. So let's insert in the credit. Super Locomotive is definitely one I'm considering playing. Carlo. No. That one. It's a very thin one. Yeah, Last Survive is one that I have to work out a control scheme that works for me beforehand, because it's got a unique way of controlling your direction. It's a spinner, isn't it, where this direction the spinner's pointing is your direction. It doesn't really map well to PC controls. But yeah, that is one I do want to do on a future stream, but I haven't actually set up or prepared at the moment. Wolf has. Shoot. Let's rescue the hostage by hitting the drum with a gun. That's not how I play the drums, but, you know. Please aim at the centre of the target. Right, okay, if it rolls out, it's a failure. Okay. So it's a target practice game, where you've got to get it actually when the thing is showing the target. Oh. No! Failure in rescue. Now I don't know why the lamppost on the right is a bit flickery, but I guess that's, you know, the flaw in the STV Saturn emulation. There are a few that affect this game, unfortunately. Saturn emulation is very difficult to get perfect. Hey Arno, thank you for joining. If you've been lurking, I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. If you've just joined, welcome, and you've still got about another hour and 15 minutes of games to see, assuming I stream for the usual 3 hours. This is Treasure Hunt by Sega, a localization of Sando R. What am I doing with the fish? Dear. I don't know. Which fish is at the front? Oh, so you've got to monitor the priorities between all the fish. So far the blue one looks like it's at the front. No, the blue one's not at the front. Is it that one? No. Wow, this is actually tricky. And this is, again, this is a very creative minigame. It's priority based. The orange one is at the front, is it? Yeah, I think the orange one's at the front. Yeah, the orange one's at the front.
Wonderful.
Yeah, Super Locomotive is a difficult... I've forgotten how to play, it's the problem, so I'll be learning on the fly. Yellow one at the front. Yellow one's still at the front. Yeah, yellow one's at the front, I think. Yeah.
Incredible.
Little pink... No, it's the blue one. The blue one. The sign one. There we go. Norm clear. I guess that's normal clear. sherbet. You like a bit of sherbet. Cartel. Please make the sherbet into... This is a sherbet cartel, is it?
Ready, go!
Is this a rotating the stick? Yeah, this is a rotate the joystick one, so... Let's use the Xbox pad that's plugged in.
I want to eat.
You want to eat.
Ready, go! It's all done. Delicious.
I've not played any of the C64 versions, Stephen, so I wouldn't know. I didn't really have a C64 either. I don't know if Super Locomotive reported to anything else. This is really tricky. You've got to do this really fast.
Go! It's all done. Delicious. Ready, go!
But yeah, there's definitely more creativity with these Sega ones than there is with that Korean one we just played.
I want to eat.
But it's definitely more difficult too.
Ready, go!
I say, if you run this one in MAME, make sure to use the no DRC flag, because with the recompile it will crash. Just randomly freeze up for reasons we don't really understand at the moment. Does that control work for 720? Not really, Carl. Not much works for 720 at all. 720 is an absolute nightmare to try and play on a PC.
Okay, let's go to the next.
I'll play another mini game on this. Pardon me, before moving on. Make Hercules flat by pressing the wall. Press the button quickly. It's just a... God. Button mashing one. Well, that's not fair. Why does he get more time than I do? And suddenly gets a lot stronger when he hits the back there. There we go. Stage clear. It does like to use the sprites and the 3D and the scaling and everything in this one. It really shows it off actually. It's a good demonstration for some of the Saturn effects. The sound's coming from the keyboard for me. The keyboard's about to die probably if I keep hitting it that hard. My mouse died a death. I'm having to use a spare mouse at the moment. Anyway, what am I doing? I don't know. Collect you and collect the... I honestly don't know what's going on with this game. There's not even a HUD on it. I think this is just a bonus round. No bonus. Arm wrestling is definitely a button masher, isn't it? But yes, obviously if you like this type of game, you can also play this on the Saturn. I don't think the Saturn got the English version, did it? Oh, did it? Maybe it did. Meat.
Hungry line.
That's a nice background. Cut the meat in 2 pieces. Is this another button mashing one? Connect the bullet hole with each other. Raw, I'm hungry.
Ready, go!
Okay. This is exactly why hunters have guns when there are lions around. Okay.
Ready, go!
Because lions stand up like that to eat meat while somebody else shoots the meat to cut it. This is perfectly realistic. There we go. Rip meat. Visually, this is completely at odds with every other round we've had so far. This feels like it's worked on by completely different artists. There we go. I've cut the meat in half again. This is one of those games where you kind of just want to play more of it to see what more it has to offer. So, I'm full. Norm clear. Well, it's from now on. Uh-oh, not this round. I hate these rounds. Hey Jess Jukes, thank you for joining. You're coming in at the end of me playing Treasure Hunt before I move on to another game. Thank you for joining. I hope you're good. This is one of those things like I had in one of those plug and plays where you've got to roll the cube around until it's the right way up. And you know how much I love that. So I think the shark's got to be on the bottom so you can eat the shark. So honestly, I don't even know. I don't know how to play this mini game. It says gold. Oh, the shark's got to be in the bottom in the corner, maybe. Evening, Costado. Thank you for joining. Hope you're doing well. Right, so it's got to be the right way up there. As I say, there's a plug and play that has this game in it, and I really hated it there, and I hate it as much here. No, I said it's the same with Itch. Oh, I didn't get a Mega Drive release in English, but it did get an arcade release in English. So I know Denon did the Korean versions of this, but maybe they also were involved in the English version. I don't know. But yeah, so Treasure Hunt, aka Sando R. Wouldn't it be no DRC and MAME, and it's fully playable and actually good fun if you like minigame collections. There's a good variety. There's far more variety than on the Korean one I looked at. And I've only really scratched the surface of it. It's well presented. It uses a lot of the Saturn effects. Not perfectly emulated, but well enough emulated to, you know, enjoy. I'm not going to look at the other puzzle and action, Tanto or some ties in Tanto R, I think, today, but I might look at it another time. So we are 1 hour 55 minutes in. I did say I'd look at Super Loco, didn't I, and try to remember how to play it. So this is Sega's Super Locomotive. It's got trains with arms on it, because trains have arms, don't they? Your train, enemy plane, oil bonus. Good to hear, Costado, good to hear. So it's got the map at the top where you're choosing your route, knowing where the other trains are, and it's got the shooter section at the bottom. And for an arcade, that's kind of confusing. It sort of reminds me of there was a bike game on the 8-bits too. Was it Super Scramble Simulator, where you had two views, one of the actual obstacles and one of the map where the obstacles were. But you've got to collect the oil and shoot the planes and all sorts. So let's try and play it. I don't think I'm going to be very good at it because I've not played it in a long time. I can't remember it very well. Yeah, it's very, very rare. I think because it's not really what most people would consider to be an arcade design. So I've been hit by the train already, which I had a feeling would happen. So I've got two buttons. I've got that button, which I don't need to use there. No. Oh. Let's get the oil. So you're looking at things all over the place. Is this the game with YMO's Redeem tune? I don't know. I don't know that, Costado. So I'm dead already because I've completely forgotten how to play this game, which is from 1982. So actually from 1982, this is impressive with the whole split screen nature. That is just your power up button, isn't it, really? And that's a red light. And that's me dead again. And that's me dead again. No, I don't have room for any arcade cabinets, unfortunately, Bob. Right, so you see, I've got through a credit already. It throws you in the deep end, this game does. If you tap smoke quickly, you can get the trains from behind. Okay. So yeah, get that, I tap that, and yes, I've got that train behind me. Now, get that. I know, I think, so I couldn't see the train on the bottom screen, but I crashed into it on the top screen. So you have to pay attention to both. I was going for the fuel and I messed up. And there's a truck crossing the track there. Oil is coming up there. The oil down here. There's a plane above me now on that screen. Sorry, I meant to use the smoke to press the wrong button. I pressed the wrong button again. I'm used to trying to play it where one button shoot up and the other shoot down. But yeah, if you shoot like that, and let's avoid the bombs. Still behind me, isn't it? Yeah. Not need to use that there. Gonna miss the oil. There's something firing lots of missiles at me there. You can see it on the map where they are. Can't get that. I don't know, Costado. Maybe they didn't have permission to use the music. It happens sometimes. Not everything was as squeaky clean as maybe we like to feel it was. I don't like to have to use my power up. The station. Ooh. This was at your school, was it, Stephen? That's even more surprising. I don't personally know, Jez. I mean, what age of console are we talking here? A lot of them these days, there are soft mod options. Yeah, this is a game that you do have to take the time to really master, and you have to be able to. It's very Game and Watch like in the sense you're watching two screens at once. What I mean. And you have to remember to hold the button down longer to fire higher if you want to get the planes. As it was being pointed out, there we go, there's the plane. Get the train. Let's have a look at the top view. You're balancing your energy and oil and everything too. Let's go down here. Let's go down here. Nope, 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 no. Ooh, 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 ooh. Something coming this way. Everything got me there. Everything got me. Yeah, I've played it before, Stephen. I've just never been very good at it. I'm probably not going to get better at it either, unfortunately. It's one that requires a lot of coordination and keeping an eye on too many things. It's like the Game Watch games. I can appreciate them for what they are, but the slightest lapse of concentration and you've lost light. You can go backwards as well, yeah, I should point that out. If you want to go backwards, you can go backwards. And if you go backwards, you fire forwards, which isn't very helpful if you want to shoot things behind you, is it? So you can still get. I guess some things you learn and you never forget, do you, Stephen? This one I never had a chance to learn back in the day, and as such, have no real skills. I've just done exactly the same thing as I did last time. Yeah, there are games like that where you quickly pick up the skill again. I mean, it's like Ghouls and Ghosts for the Mega Drive. Most people consider it to be a really hard game, but if I play it for about 20 minutes, I usually do pretty good at it again. Yeah, to get rid of the lights, you have to go backwards like that. There's a tank behind me, because of course tanks are naturally exactly what goes on track. Oh, I got hit by a train in the top window. It's not a song I'm familiar with in the first place, Ray, so it doesn't sound odd to me. But, I mean, Sega had to change the music in Pengo because they used it without the permission, didn't they? So it might just be the same type of thing here. In fact, it might be one of the reasons the game is ridiculously rare. If they were told to, you know, withdraw it from sale over the music, I don't know if that's the case, but I could speculate. I think it's more likely rare because it's a very difficult game to grasp, and I think most arcade players have just gone, what? This is really difficult. And I will have to have a search for that then. In fact, let me just copy that into my notes for this game. There we go. I can now remember it off stream without having to look it up in a bit. So yes, Stephen, you are obviously going to be a much better... Yeah, the super... I've been using the super button a bit. How limited are your supers? Do they just consume energy? Yeah, they consume energy. I don't want to rely on them too much. It's got the momentum aspect as well, so I was trying to slow down and go into reverse so I could shoot forward then. But obviously you don't slow down and change direction instantly. Your fire doesn't change instantly. So unfortunately you're not getting to hear the full rendition of this song because you're mainly hearing me losing lives. Can you do anything about that smaller train apart from the super button? Let's just blast through that. Put the oil. Oops. I always try to be conservative about any kind of super use in games. It's the same with so many other games. I'll just end up hoarding all the best items because I never want to use them. Uh-oh, now my energy's really low, which is not a good thing, is it? Oh, very quickly, as in incredibly quick, as in just the slightest tap, I guess. It's very much timing based on these shots and killing things. Oh. Go through this. There we go. I completed the first level. Yeah, that's probably the problem, R09. It's a good idea, a good concept, but it probably does work better as a home game when you've got time to learn it. People with arcade games sort of want them to be instantly understandable, and this has just got so many little elements to go on to understand that it doesn't have that. Yeah, and a lot of really good arcade games fall into the same category. Really, they're good if you get the time to learn them, spend the time to learn them. But if you put your money in, you put your coin in, and you're dead within 20 seconds, and you didn't learn anything, you're probably not going to play it again. I've said the same with Peter Pepper's Ice Cream Factory. I really like that game, but I can also understand why it's not considered one of the best games, because it will kill you off almost instantly if you don't know what you're doing. Even after playing the game many times, it would take me a credit or two to get back into it. So you can also try and dodge the red lights on there. Oh, I almost forgot there's something behind me. Let's go down here. There we go, in a tunnel, you see. Nice little effect. You can't fire into the air in a tunnel, as you'd expect. Let's go way up here. Let's go up here. I've missed the oil there, of course. So sometimes that's just what you have to avoid too. Oh, I missed that things were approaching. I was so concentrating so much on everything else that I missed it entirely. Hey Super Low Pursuit, thank you. Hey Christian, I will say hi to Super Low Pursuit. Hey Christian, thank you for joining, and it's good to see you. I hope everything is good there. I did beat a round, Bob, yes, and I was actually doing not too bad on the round afterwards, surprisingly. So I'm picking up a little bit. I don't think I'm going to play it too much longer. I might come back to this one on another stream because I do want to do sort of a stream with train games. There aren't that many, but there's Iron Horse, there's some computer games, Stop the Express on the Spectrum, the NES versions of that in the different iterations, Western Express, Wild Western, the Taito game. So there's a couple of train games. Densha to go, although that doesn't quite 100% here. It sort of gets about 95 to 97, which is frustrating, but I can still show what it is. Once I beat a round, you're legally required to speed. The only speed runs I do is with cheats on. Yeah, I will come back to this one on another stream because I do think it's a good game, Stephen. I don't think it's a great arcade game in the sense of arcade design, but if it wasn't an arcade game, the computer versions probably wouldn't have existed. So in that sense, it's an important arcade game because you've got all the C64 versions you talk about. I can see why the arcade player base would generally not play it, but with it being in a school, you say it's probably a bit different because you've got a more limited selection of games. Densha to Go seems to work. The first two games, but they are quite demanding on Taito JC hardware. It's not perfect, but it's playable. I guess in the schools is a bit of a different audience to an arcade, though, isn't it? Or is it on really cheap as well? Was it like 10p a credit or free play or? Also, school kids. I mean, at least me as a school kid, I love trains, so it's a game of trains, and I'm gonna want to play it. I'm gonna want to understand it, and it does play a bit more like a home game you might have had at home. And yeah, it's definitely one of Sega's more creative titles. And in that sense, for 82, this is fantastic for 82. 10p it was. Yeah, so you weren't. I mean, 10p was a bit more than it is now, but you weren't going to break the bank playing it. Train stages. I mean, Gun Force 2 starts on a train, doesn't it? And there's some fighting games with train stages. So, yeah, or train stages, I would say. Where should we go next? Shall we go with a shooter? I think we'll go with this shooter. Unfortunately, the emulation of this one is not perfect. I don't know what I think of the game. But in terms of, would I put Super Locomotive on, say, my own all-kill list? I think I would, because it offers something different. It's not a game that's like any other, and that's what I'd want on a list like that. So this is Grid Seeker, Project Stormhammer, an F3 game. Taito F3 game. And it's one of the Taito F3 shooters. One I have mixed feelings on, I'll say that, in advance. But we'll have a look at it. Now, I'm going to service mode this just to check. Yeah. So put the volume up a little bit, because these days the volume on the F3 is emulated, so if you don't put it up, it's quite quiet. You love the demo music on this one. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll leave it in demo mode for a little bit and let's have a listen. The low rumble of overhead aircraft. Not so much music. The second Persian Gulf War has begun. Grid Seeker, Project Stormhammer. More text than you're ever going to read. Where it shows how to play. Is that after you insert a credit? Oh no. So, catch bullets with the thing at the front of your ship. And get big ships to follow you. Now this is one of those frustrating cases where the emulation of a lot of aspects of it was improved, but some things got noticeably worse. Overall, you probably want to be using current MAME versions for it, but there's certain points in the game where maybe older ones do work better. The F3 system is frustrating to emulate and figure every detail out of. That text is nothing compared to the disc art. Well, at least the disc art's there and you just hold it and you can read it. That's like on the screen. It's like I have like 5 seconds to read this, if that. That's a big bomber next to that person. Well, that's just a very little person. Maybe the high score screen is still broken. The continue screen is broken, which is one thing we'll see. The continue screen is completely black. It looks like the game's crashed, but it hasn't. It's just you can't see it. But yeah, F3 emulation still needs a lot of work, really, if we're honest. So yeah, yeah, Taito soundtracks were generally very good. R09, even though bad games. I looked at Mega Blast, which is quite a bad game, but has a fantastic soundtrack. So what ship do I want? Let's just go with that one. So as I say, if you're holding the fire button, you can move your options around for collecting the things. If you're not paying attention, you will crash straight into bullets. But yeah, let's have it's an okay vertical shooter. The controls aren't the best. It feels like there's a fair bit of input lag, which is not ideal for a shooter. I'd say it was a mid-tier shooter with some interesting ideas that doesn't quite get pulled off properly. I mean, you get these assistant ships, very big ones, and the collision boxes I don't like. I mean, there it's like I didn't feel I was close enough to that ship, the enemy plane, to be killed by it, but clearly I was. And you end up moving your options when you're just trying to fire as well, which isn't ideal. I think a separate button for it would have been far better. Soundtrack's one of the best parts. I mean, you can hear that in the background now. And the F3 sound emulation has improved significantly over the years. Again, it's the reason you won't really want to use an older version for any of this. It just sounds so much nicer now. It's just cheesy bomb you. Okay, see, it looks like it's crashed, but this is the continue screen. Unfortunately, that is quite a significant emulation issue with the current versions of MAME. But if you know it's not crashed and it's just a continue screen, you're okay. First Zeitgeist shooter you've seen from them. We will not be playing Advanced Lawnmower Simulator or any other lawn mowing games, Bob. I could probably do an entire stream on games where you have to mow grass. I always forget those things are bullets too. They look like explosions. What got me? Probably one of the explosions, the bullets that I thought was an explosion, wasn't it? Grass. Hey Franco, thank you for joining. I hope you're doing well. Also Jez, I hope you're doing well. Did I say that earlier? Now this has got a really nice parallax effect with the rose squall effect. Look at the sensation of depth of this cliff. That is a fantastic use of any kind of rose squall effect. And so one of the highlights of the game for me. And also the fact they use bigger sprites up on the top of the cliff really adds to it. It really gives the illusion that there's some sort of 3D going on when there really isn't. The hardware doesn't do any kind of 3D whatsoever. But it's a good trick they've got going on there that I really appreciate. Oh, again. Collision box got me. Yeah. Invisible continue screen again. Mowing grass was a good idea for a game. Yes. I mean, some games still do it. You look for power-ups hidden in grass. I think Bully was one of the games that had mowing grass as a punishment, didn't it? Your detention was to mow the grass or something like that. I really should know that since I worked on the the PS4 emulation thing of Bully. But it's been a while and I've forgotten anything about Bully. Yeah, the hitbox is far too big on this. That is a complaint. Now we've got lovely canyon on both sides, you see. Look how low down that river looks. But yeah, this would have really benefited from a much smaller hitbox. I'm just hitting things that I feel I shouldn't be colliding with. It's in part because I'm used to the bullet hell shooters, but also it does just feel too big, and the controls feel a bit too slippery. It can make dodging things more annoying than it should do. Look at the mix of the sprite there with the parallax too to add to the 3D effect. So the train track came off the edge and looked like it's a separate sprite, so it's not part of the same layer, so it doesn't have the same scroll of line to it. Very clever. And again, the classic, enemy that's using both sides of a 3D canyon. Quite a few games try to do this effect, but this is probably one of the best looking versions of it. One wheel on one side, one on the other. And again, that is... I mean, this isn't 80s, this is 92, Ray Ross. Oh, you're talking about mowing grass again. I mean, people tried everything in the 80s in terms of games. That's why you got things like Paperboy, isn't it? It's like, how can we make a game about somebody delivering newspapers? Like this. We can make it not exactly realistic. We can have them smash the windows, encounter all sorts of things they'd probably only ever encounter once every few months, like terrible trolleys running down the street. But make a game out of it. And put an obstacle course at the end, because every Paperboy does that at the end of their day. But yeah, same with, APB. Let's do a game themed around chasing down criminals in a police car, which was a bit innovative at the time. Atari were good at that, actually, I have to say. But you also just got some wacky concepts that you can't even connect to anything in real life. Some of those games I want to feature on the stream at some point too. The problem is a lot of them, like Super Locomotive, you can easily forget how to play them. But I might give them a shot anyway. We'll see. It's definitely one I have in mind. Ooh, that's not me quite dead. Bomb, 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 bomb. No, I'm out of bombs. Now how am I going to choose the level? Again, I got killed by something that looked like an explosion. Not too happy with that. Yeah, the F3 is a really powerful platform. So I'm going to let my invisible continue screen time out so that I can get back to a title screen, because I think I've shown all I'm going to show of this game on this stream. It's another one that I might come back to because I do like it in some senses. I don't think it's a perfect game, but it is one that, again, the soundtrack kind of makes you want to come back to it, which Taito were great at. And if you can get used to the hitboxes and the slightly slippery controls, yeah, it's probably not too bad. I don't know, does it belong on a top list? Depends what you're comparing it to. It's 92. It's not bullet hell time, so you've got to take that into account. The thing is, shooters kind of got split, didn't they? You've got your classic ones, then you've got your sort of bullet hell ones, the later ones, and there's not much in between. Once the hitboxes went tiny, it completely changed how the game's played. You did have early ones with lots of bullets, but it's the hitbox size that made all the difference. And this has a huge hitbox. This has a hitbox that seems bigger than your ship, which is not great, but you just have to learn where it is. Enemies chase you while you make hamburgers or ice creams, also, Aaron, as you know, you get with Peter Weber's Ice Cream Factory, which I mention a lot, but that's just because it's going to really right. I don't even know how you get the big planes in this. You get one at the start, but then I've not actually managed to get one since. I feel like I'm missing a game mechanic. But maybe it's one I'll have to come back to and try and understand the game mechanic I'm missing too. So where do we go from there? Oh, I did check one that was mentioned in the previous streams. That's Space Invaders 95 Ak Invader. That is not in the All Killers, so that is eligible for stream. It's not one I'm going to play today, but it is one I can probably play on a different stream. I just thought I'd mention that. I might get around to it today, but probably not. Also, DFK is actually eligible too. I think that was dumped after the list was created. So in terms of high-profile shooters I could look at, that is up there. But I need to go with something a bit different. Something... no, let's have a look at that one. Yeah, let's have a look at Quartet 2. Now, Quartet 2 isn't a sequel to Quartet. Quartet 2 is, as much as anything, a downgraded version of Quartet. It's the two-player version of Quartet. You'll note the hardware has the Intel 8751 MCU, and last year I did fix the hookup for that so that some moving platforms in level 15 actually work properly. Now, I'm probably not going to get to level 15, but we'll see. Now, do I want to be Lee, Joe, Mary, or Edgar? I'll be Edgar.
Destroy the bar. Only if he opens the door. Open the door.
Destroy the boss? Only if he opens the door. Open the door. Okay. So... that was good. Jump straight into things. So this is early shooter, platformy, quite an innovative game from Sega. I mean, one of the early 4-player games. Like I said, this isn't the 4-player version, as I just mentioned. You've got your levels. Get under extra bit of time. Well, that's freezing, not time, isn't it? So you find your key and you get to the exit. Yeah, got to be Edgar. Want to feel like I'm in the Matrix, all that stuff. Also, I think Edgar's got the most powerful shot, maybe, possibly. I don't know. I don't know that much about this game, other than I'm doing really badly. And yes, you have an energy meter, not lives, so it's a bit different in that sense. Kind of Gauntlet-like in that sense, although you don't buy in credits. And suddenly, I'm finding this really tricky. There we go. So I kill that enemy, and I get the key. And I go to the exit. And the presentation ceremony tells me that I was the best of the two players, which I knew because I'm the only of the two players. I need my jetpack up here. I'm not getting it. Getting great Sega soundtrack here. Now this game is probably more famous on the Master System, and I think the Master System version is probably one of those games where the console game is a better game than the arcade. It's more developed. But that's not to say the arcade version is a bad game, even though I'm really bad at the arcade version. Ninja with sunglasses, even better. Yes, Bob. The invisible floor bug was fixed, yeah, last year, Master Ninja. In fact, why don't I just do that? Let me boot this with cheats on. Let me boot it with cheats on. Now, it is going to still say stage 1 when I cheat, but it's not really stage 1. Cheat. Select stage. 15. Edgar, of course, because he's got sunglasses on. Stage 15. Yeah, the Master System version is probably a better game, Ray Ross, but the arcade version is not a bad game, especially if you've got like 3 other friends. So yeah, Master Ninja. There you go. Look, the floor works. Which is, I mean, the reason the floor didn't work before is because while the MCU was hooked up, you know, the decapped MCU was hooked up, the MCU could access more than just the sprite RAM, and it was only hooked up to be able to access the sprite RAM. And in reality, the MCU is writing to the tile memory for the doors. So that's one of the tasks they assigned to the MCU. It's kind of obvious if you looked at the unprotected version that doesn't have the MCU, because that effect worked fine there. Although there's only an unprotected version of Quartet 2, not Quartet 1. So if you wanted the 4-player version, you're out of luck in older versions of MAME. Like every version of MAME dating back 20 plus years had that broken. You got the key to Stancy. Very Fantasy Zone-like in the changing colour of the enemy before they die. There we go. You've got the key. Now you've got to get the exit. And yeah, the music in this has got all these vocals. It's very rap-like and just repeating a word. Sega, or whatever. Pardon me. And that's a bit different for the time. Not your usual style of Sega soundtrack. But, yes, one of the commercial releases definitely had it wrong. Because I noticed when I posted the bug fix on Twitter, I was getting a lot of links from Japanese accounts with pictures of it wrong in some collection that I wasn't aware of. But I did get a lot of retweets on that one related to that. Now these jumps are actually quite tricky. There we go. I got over it. I really probably need the jetpack. As you can see, the doors do now work. This makes nice use of the shadow effect there, too, like for the death character. Yeah. Come on, Edgar. Come on, Edgar. Resurrect. And the key's all the way down there. Let's get the key. Let's get out of here. But there was another bug in the emulation of this, which I fixed earlier today. Okay, I want to complete this stage, then I'm going to reload it. Because you can't F3 reset this one, unfortunately. So we'll take a reload. Roll along. But yeah, the random speech samples are not a bug. That is the style of music they went for. I like to fix these issues, Stephen, and they annoy me as much as anything else. Yeah, obnoxious voice sampling in the music. Yes, it's like the old DJ sound effect on the Casio keyboards, isn't it? Or was it Yamaha keyboards? Yes, Sega. It's different. I mean, the actual music itself isn't too bad. The obnoxious voice effects are, as you say, a little on the obnoxious side. But the other issue. I'm going to go stage 18. I'm going to be Mary, just to break the rules. You're not a big fan. They were trying something different. I kind of like the music, just not the samples. Now, this stage, which is stage 18, not stage 1, previously on the protected sets, there was some glitching in the background scrolling, so when you were moving it along, every few seconds the scroll would sort of show single pixel columns of bad graphics, which was annoying, and that just turned out to be a case of the sync between the MCU and the main processor was not high enough, so the timing was a bit wrong. But I fixed that, I increased the sync between the two, and that issue seems to have gone away entirely now. So the protected sets not only have the proper working platforms, they also don't have that issue that was present in the other versions after that was fixed. Yes, those things tended to get banned at schools, didn't they, Bob? It's like, you may not use that feature of the keyboard. You're meant to be learning music by playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star all day or something like that. Which is just as annoying as the samples, but, you know, that's music education. I don't have the key. Oh dear. You have the key. You metallic slug. I apparently can't kill easily either. How do you kill them? Anyway, I don't know. I'm just saying that bug has been fixed. Do I need another weapon to actually kill the metallic slug? I probably do, don't I? I don't know how to complete this level. Doesn't help. Yeah, he's invincible when he's in the ball. Oh, you have to kill him from the front. Okay, it's as simple as that. Anyway, we'll forget my inability to remember how to kill somebody. If you kill him, if you shoot him from the back, he goes into a ball. You can't kill him. You have to shoot him from the front. Fairly simple. Oh look, we've got a different style stage. I mainly fired this one up because I wanted to talk about the bug fix. It does work. The next version of MAME, it will work much better than it ever did before. Now here we've got a nice sounding track. Very celebratory sounding track. So I always have maximum firepower at the moment. Makes things easier, doesn't it? And invulnerability, of course, which makes things even slightly easier than maximum firepower. This is me pretending I can play games. Maybe I should do one of those X hours of music videos just with arcade tracks and hope the ones that YouTube doesn't moan about. Give me the key, give me the key, give me the key, give me the key. Oh yeah, I want the key. Oh wait, give me the key. Give me the key. There we go, got the key. But yeah, you have to get the key and then you do have to find the exit. So it's not a straightforward, just go in one direction, that's it. There's structure to the levels. And it's a good game. Like I said, I just think the Master System version of the game is a better game. But as an arcade game, especially one where you've got 4 players blasting away for the original Quartet, or even just 2 on this version, it's a fun bit of co-op. I can't really fault it in that sense. Yeah, this is a very 80s track, isn't it? Off the top of my head, I don't remember why I preferred the Master System version. There was just something about it. I'll have to go back and play the Master System version again to say why. I think maybe it just felt a bit fairer, but I hear it a lot, and I know when I did play the Master System version out after this on another stream, not another stream, off stream, I ended up enjoying the Master System version more. Although I can save that for another stream because I do want to do a stream where I compare arcade and console versions. It might just be a case of the arcade version is just a little bit too difficult, a little bit too much going on, and Master System version is more toned down. I can't remember. And the arcades are more capable, but sometimes if you're not a good player especially, that's not always the best thing if there's just too much going on. I get to listen to some music and Yeah. Anyway. Right. I'm going to very briefly look at the next one. Because it's one I feel kind of bad for missing on the Data East Cassette stream. But Data East Cassette did also get Super Doubles Tennis. I'm not going to play this for long. But somehow, when I was going over the whole Data East Cassette list on another stream and the second part of it, I played the original tennis game, but I completely looked past this one in the list. I play some modern games. It depends what you really count as modern. I've got loads of PlayStation 3 games. I've sort of just moved on to some PlayStation 4 things. So I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter World. I have a copy of Red Dead Redemption 2 I need to start playing. My friends wanted me to play Zombie Army 4, but I didn't like the design of that one with so much being pushed at you and buy this extra content. The menu of the game feels more like a storefront than a main menu, which really puts me off a game. But I've got some. I've got Unravel to play, which looked fun. So yeah, there's a few. I don't really play modern games on the PC, even though my PC cut the PCs for development, for MAME, for that kind of thing. I play a bit of Terraria from time to time, although I've not played it too much recently. So it's not all retro stuff. But yeah, this is really just the other tennis game with a second computer-controlled AI. And slightly better graphics. But otherwise, it's quite similar. It's got a bit more music. That's out, so. Yeah, I mean, I'd be playing Red Dead on the PS4, which maybe not ideal because it's not even a PS4 Pro. But I think I'll get the game experience. I mean, I played through things like the original Red Dead Redemption on the PS3 with all the frame rate issues that had. GTA 5 I played through on the PS3. Because the PS3 was my main system for a while, and I still do play quite a few games on it. But the PS3 is not without some significant issues, unfortunately. I mean, I even played through Dragon Age Inquisition on a PS3, even though I have a PC that can run it at 60 frames a second on the highest settings. I don't know why I did that, but I just felt like doing that. And if you played Dragon Age Inquisition on a PS3, you know the experience is special. As in, it's probably one of the most broken games I've ever played. It makes Cyberpunk on the new systems look perfect. It is a way in which gaming's changed a lot. I mean, older games, the story was second to everything else. Even on Monster Hunter World, the story's kind of a bit stupid, if we're quite honest. It's like, let's hunt all these things. Let's acknowledge all these things are good for the ecosystem, but hunt them anyway. Let's hunt more things. Okay. But the actual gameplay on that one's good fun, even though it is a lot of grinding, a lot of repeating the same thing. It still feels rewarding. And there's so much after-game content, and they put Iceborne on there, and there's so much after-game content for Iceborne too. It's there's a lot there. But yeah, I'm not going to play this one too much. I just wanted to fire it up because I did miss it on the Deco East cassette stream I did earlier. It's another tennis game. It's like the other tennis game, just a bit better presented. Not much else to say about it, really. Nah. It would not go on my top list. It wouldn't even be close. There are far better tennis games, and maybe in one of these streams I will play one of the far better tennis games. Yeah, Alien Isolation is a really good one too. Emulate some PS3. I like some of the less demanding PS3 games in general. I really like a Guided Fate Paradox, which is sort of a dungeon crawler with very simple 2D graphics. Anyway, you are not here to have me talk about such things, I guess, so. We mentioned this one earlier in chat. Butasan, Pigs and Bombers. Grammatically incorrect title, but 1987 NMK. Now, I'm not 100% convinced this is an official version and not just a hack, but It is the parent set these days, and it's possible it's a real set. I really don't know. It's just a bit lazy looking. This comes out of Hudson's Challenger opening level. Challenger is one I want to do on the train stream, actually, because Challenger is really an updated, reworked version of what was Stop the Express on the Spectrum, isn't it? In terms of classical music, there is a lot in the games. I think we had a little chat about this on the previous stream, actually. You do find a lot of classical tunes used. Yeah, there are some good games on the PlayStation 3. There's some bad games. Unfortunately, the thing that annoys me most is a lot of the really good games were digital only, and I don't buy digital only. I only buy something if it's on disc. So the B button in this game allows you to lie. So I could say this is a terrible game while holding down B, and that would be perfectly acceptable. The tennis game uses Stop the Express Challenger level. Okay. I didn't make the connection, but yeah. I might make the connection next time I play it. When I play Challenger, I'll probably notice now you've mentioned it, especially if I then fire up tennis just to remind myself of that. So, yes, you throw bombs at pigs, they explode. The bombs explode, they've got timers on. This was released as Psycho Pigs UXB on home platforms, like the Amstrad, and got really bad reviews, and I don't know why, because it's actually a really good game in all forms. It's perfect, manic arcade fun, where you're just going to blow up all the other pigs. And of course you've got the damage shown in the levels whenever anything explodes, which again is a nice touch. It does have a lot of slowdown. It does push the hardware a bit too hard. If you hit a pig directly, it explodes immediately, otherwise the timers decrease. If you or the pig is lying down... I got hit. If you're lying down, then you can avoid the explosions. Look, piggy lie down. This is a lot of fun, Stephen. This is one that if I saw an arcade machine of, I would put a credit in. They've got different pigs with different characteristics. It tells you a bit about them. But yeah, the home ports was known for having a very saucy advert that had absolutely nothing to do with the game. And I think as a result, resulted in the game being really badly reviewed because the magazines didn't like how it was advertised. So, my pig... Oops. My pig got blown up. Yes, it's like a piggy bomber man where you're throwing around the pigs. Damn it, I dislike red pig and white one. Everyone too. I think it's a two-player game. Yeah, it's a two-player game. Is it two at once? Yeah, it's two at once. It's two players at once. I've got two piggies now. Although I'm just going to let that one die. Is the Japanese version of Butasan better than the home version? I think this is apparently the world release of it. The Japanese version seems to be the same apart from being slightly more in Japanese. The home versions are just quite slow but still have the gameplay intact. I think player 2 survived and I didn't. Bonus round. You see, this is still all in Japanese, which is again, it's why I'm wondering just... Oh yeah, I've got no player 1 anymore. Well, player 2 can run around. This is like a whack-a-mole stage where you approach the pigs and hit them. But I only got player 2 because player 1 died. This is the bonus round. Yeah, Psycho Pigs on the Spectrum and Amstrad. It's a bit slower, but it's still a great game. It should have got better reviews back in the day. I think the reviews were because the advertising was just really inappropriate for the game. And it just made reviewers want to say, well, this isn't anything to do with what was advertised. And just gave it a really bad review. Didn't deserve it. It might be a lot slower on the home systems. But, you know, it's quite slow in the arcades. Look, I mean, it's running really slow now. It's just kind of what this game is sometimes. Oh dear. I'm not doing well. I'm picking up bombs and blowing myself up. Before I get swinging on. So, yeah, if you like a game where you're running around, avoiding bombs, throwing other bombs, avoiding... Yeah, Psycho Pig's your XP. Mass Ninja. Yes, because it's still got a Use in Japan logo, a message, but at the same time, some bits have been translated. There are other NMK Jaleco games in the same boat, and it's quite strange. We looked at... I can't remember what it's called. The one with the high school fire. And that's got an English version that also seems to be a Japanese version, but that's got glitches where the bits have just not been translated. And it's like, is this official? Why would somebody be going to lengths to translate parts of random games otherwise? I don't know. Sometimes you're never going to find out the real story. But yeah, this is one of those games that if you've not played it, I would definitely recommend giving it a try. Either the arcade version or the home systems if you really like your home systems. Orange is sporty. Yeah, it's... the ad has nothing to do with the game is the problem. I don't know if they thought they didn't have a very good game on their hands, so had to go the extra mile to do something to try and sell the game when it wasn't very good, but they had a perfectly fine game on their hands. And it's a good port too. So I don't really understand. Yeah, so the black one there usually doesn't actually get knocked down by the bomb. He just sort of ducks every time you hit him, so you have to use a different strategy. So another bonus round. Yeah, she's holding the game. That's the only connection it has to the game at all. She's not even wearing a piggy suit or anything like that. I mean, she's not wearing much at all, if we're quite honest. But yes, the actual game itself is, you know, great. Graylee is bright but slow. But yeah, I've got about 10 minutes of the stream left. I'll play another round or so of this. Once I get the continue screen, I'll move on. But this is definitely a game I'll come back to in another stream because it's a game I will quite often fire it just to play. There we go. It's enjoyable. Okay. I imagine this is great fun with two players too. I've never actually played it with a second player, but right, here we go. It's a bit slow because of the number of pigs, but it's okay. It probably helps actually. It's a bit like the cave games where sometimes being slow has advantages. Too close to the explosion. Yeah, you can also hit the pigs to stun them for a little bit, which helps at times. So I've hit that pig. Still managed to duck though. So there's strategies beyond what you might think of the strategies. But don't bloat yourself, because that's very silly. 1, 3, 2, 1. Some of them you can hit from behind because they're not looking if they're behind you. You're just blowing yourself up. Okay. As you want, Piggy. Maybe. Metalli. Mysterious touch. Did I continue when I said I wasn't going to continue? I can't remember. It's one of those games where you put in extra coins without realising it. Which is always the sign of a good arcade game. If you're continuing without realising you're continuing because you just want to see more of the game, continue playing it. I think this could have done with like a modern version on the Neo Geo or something like that, but it didn't get one, unfortunately. So it's a battle arena game, isn't it? I think that's what genre I'd put this in. Battle arena. Am I just doing too well? Can you actually tell maybe I've played this game before as opposed to some of the others where I played a bit of them? Oh look, we've got a slightly different theme for this bonus round. Now in really old versions of MAME, like the ones from 2003 and the like, I think the bonus rounds are glitched, the backgrounds don't work properly on them. So don't use ancient versions of MAME if you want to play this one. Pardon me. And in fact, don't use ancient versions of MAME anyway. It is one of the games that did have fixes over the years for some fairly significant issues. Anyway, we have hit 5 minutes of the stream left, so even though I've not lost a credit, I am probably going to have to press escape now and have a look at another game. Otherwise, we will be playing that until the end of the stream, which isn't really what I wanted to do. Okay. I don't know what to end on. Alright. Now, B.Rap Boys is on the all killer no filler list. However, B.Rap Boys Special is not. So I'm considering this one eligible for that reason. The special version is a remixed version of the game with lots of different enemy patterns, extra graphics and various changes. So it makes sense to treat them as separate games. It's like, you know, Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition. There's enough different content in them that they're worth considering as separate games. Now, this one was apparently originally going to be a Beastie Boys themed game, hence why B.Rap, because they didn't get the license. And it's one of Kaneko's beat-em-ups. Quite a heavily protected one, actually. One that I put extensive work into the protection emulation of at the time when it was emulated. It's not only got a device that decrypts and pulls data from the external ROM and does various operations with it, it's also got a complete 3D maths unit that calculates hitboxes in, you know, X, Y and Z dimensions, which is used for every single collision in the game. But it's a beat 'em up with a bit of a hip-hop rap theme to it. As such, it's considered the sequel to DJ Boy as well, which is one I'll have to put on another stream. But it's a much more developed game than DJ Boy. DJ Boy was just like roller skate beat 'em up. I'm on the bike at the moment, but it's not a bike-based beat 'em up. That's just this section of it. Jumps. Now, I think sometimes this might still lock up, but I think maybe it's a bug in the original game because the protection emulation, as far as I know, is solid. Everything in the tests matched the original hardware, so it might just have a few bugs in it that will probably reset the game on original hardware. I don't know. Get your weapons, there we go. It's not the perfect piece of programming. There are quite a few places where the graphics flicker badly on original hardware too, which isn't fully emulated in MAME. Also, you've got your energy bar and your points, and it can be a bit cheap at times. I think you can one credit clear it if you're really careful and manage your energy well. So you've got your two layers there. You've got your inside building, your outside building. You hop over the between inside and outside. I think this is one of the places where there are more enemies in this version. You hop onto the tables or over the tables. Get thrown around. Dope Ryan's Fat Beat Show. I think they've done a pretty good job of the music to fit the theme. No, don't do that to me. I'm getting thrown around all over the place. Oh dear. Throw you around a bit to make up for it. There we go. But good sprite art. And like I said, it stands out for the music and the theme. But it doesn't even play too badly. I play it badly. I mean, that's no reflection of the game though. Yes, if say the original version is on the list, but the special isn't. So if you've only played the original non-special version, I would recommend checking out the special too. It's got enough changes to play and not feel like you're just playing exactly the same game. But this will be the last game for the stream. I'm not going to play it extensively on this stream. It is probably one I will play on a beat 'em up special stream if I do another beat 'em up special stream. I think I did a beat 'em up special stream already. I plan on doing another one because there's lots of beat 'em ups to look at, and even if you're retreading old ground on them, I think they're good streams to have good games to have a play of. No, I've not done things like the Capcom Dungeons and Dragons game on any stream yet, and that'd be a good place to do them. Yeah, it's an odd game. It's very, very 90s. You can't deny that. It's very 90s what Japan thought rap and hip hop were like in the 90s. Obviously, it follows on from DJ Boy, like I said, which was very similar. Now, I think this car is one of the things that was added in the special version. The car that is now trash. There we go. The music's changed up a little bit. I'm going to crush you. Well, you might crush my bones. We'll see. Yeah. There we go. Perfect. So, I'm going to... Now, one strategy with this game, like many beat 'em ups, is to not scroll the screen too far because it does stop extra enemies spawning. I'm not very good at not doing that, but you know, yeah. I mean, if you're good at the game, it's better than this. I mean, at the moment, it just looks like a mindless button masher because I'm not playing it well. But it's got a lot of elements to it. There's parts where you get into big robotic suits and the like. It really gets quite creative. So it's absolutely one I'd recommend checking out and spending time with to try and master it and play it a bit better. You're not going to get that watching me. I'm just credit feeding mindlessly and trying to show off the game a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely not a bad game, this one. I'd say it's one of Kaneko's better games. Very heavily protected, like I said. And here we go, we get a Mount Gory train car section. Where you've got to basically just defend yourself against what's being thrown at you. More of a timing one, this one, than anything else. You just have your punch button. But you see, you can fight them later. You found a bug in the Iron Horse games that oddly doesn't affect one version. Typically when you get bugs like that, they're probably bugs in the original game, unless it's like bug in a bootleg version. Here we go, so you get your big slow suits. We are over 3 hours now, so when this credit runs out, however, I will be quitting this game and ending the stream, but we'll probably come back to this one another time. Now I'm not in my suit, which is never a good thing when you're facing a big robot, is it? Oh dear, let me get back in my suit. Give me my suit back. For the big robot fight. No, suit. Oh well. continue. There will be no continuing. Yeah, it's always a good idea to report things.
The big show.
No, that doesn't sound right, Ray Ross. It's very odd that that would be in a single revision, unless that revision is also a bootleg. I don't know. But yeah, do try to recover the account. If there's not a report already there, report it, because it might warrant investigation. Yeah. B.Rap Boys. I mean, the title screen still says B.Rap Boys, but you know, when you insert the credit, it just say the B.Rap Boys special, as opposed to, if I just quickly load up the regular version of B.Rap Boys. You don't get that. The insert credit is just B.Rap Boys at the top, or over there even, because I forget the camera's mirrored in some senses. You see, that's the non-special version is a bit different. The special version is definitely worth checking out, and probably the better version of the game. It's got a bit few refinements, rebalanced, personal opinion. I would probably put the special version on the list over the regular version. But everybody's got their own opinions of these things, so it's always worth checking out the alt versions. And there will be a few other alt versions of things we look at on these streams, where maybe there's one version in the list but not another version, because you know, that's the thing. You get games, and if there's something in the list and it's only listing one version, people might just ignore the other versions. And there are so many cases of other versions that are significantly different or worth checking out, and I do like to highlight those things. Anyway, that is it for the stream today. So thank you to everybody who's been here, and I see you've had a nice little chat between yourselves too, and obviously with me. And yeah, it's been good. I'm pretty tired, so I'm not going to go back and read every name from the chat this time like I do sometimes, but I will see you all on the next stream. And I don't know when the next stream will be, but there will be more parts to this in April. It could be tomorrow, it could be in a couple of days. I've still got a huge list of things I can potentially look at. I'm going to take all the ones that I've looked at today out of the list, and then see what we're left with, and try and sort of come up with a short list of ones I definitely want to cover on a stream, which is what I did today. And then other ones I might, and we'll see where it goes. So, all right, thank you all, and good night. And I hope you found things you really like. Check them out yourself, have a play. I'm not the best player of any of these games. I'm just a bad player of most games. So, yes. Okay, and yes, say Franco. I'm glad to have introduced you to B.Rap Boys then, because definitely want to check out. And take care. I will see you all next time.